The world of 8 wastelands is cruel. Only the strongest survives here. Even for Lin, the #1 player. The final was bloody in his last moments. He saw those whom he considered salvation, his brother and his beloved. But instead of help, there was icy contempt in her eyes. She takes the most precious thing, the symbol of his power, as the final trophy. His world built on trust and love is crumbling. The couple in love, not embarrassed by Lin's presence, exchange a kiss. The woman coldly explains that they are now together with his brother. The last moments of betrayal are approaching, and a thirst for revenge flares up in his soul. Suddenly, he finds himself in a university dormitory and does not understand how he survived. He searches in panic for his magical items and realizes that all his belongings have disappeared. The reality of time travel is revealed. When Lin discovers that the year is 2040, the guy realizes that he was reborn the day before the start of the game, 10 years ago. He recalls rumors of an artifact from the Dragon Torch Kingdom that can resurrect. The hero is glad that the core artifact was not stolen by traitors. Lin bitterly admits how much he loved the girl. For all 10 years, their union became the most painful betrayal, destroying the whole meaning of his past life. Lin promises himself to take revenge on those who have harmed him. While talking to the girl, he formulates a plan for revenge. A voice from the old past brings him back into a whirlpool of memories. Her irritation on the other end of the line was nothing compared to his icy calm. The news of betrayal does not evoke emotions, because he has already lived through this pain. She is shocked by his reaction, not knowing that he is talking about the fate of the world. And not a broken heart, his calmness frightens her, because she does not see the storm of future events behind. He turns the conversation to the game, which is entertainment for everyone. But for him, it is a battlefield for the future. Becoming an esports athlete is not a whim. The first step towards leading humanity. In 5 years, the game will become a reality, and only he knows how to prepare for it. Artifacts, bosses, skills, all of this will soon spill out onto the streets, and only the strongest players will survive. She thinks it's about his career, but in reality, he's choosing the path of the savior. He throws himself into the game head-on, because at stake is not winning the tournament, but the survival of the entire world. There's panic in his eyes as he tries to keep her on the line, because she's the key to his first move. He plays on her feelings, knowing that the past is his main trump card in this new reality. Her rage is just an echo of the betrayal that she doesn't yet realize. Screaming about money, one thought is running through my head. I was just a day late, missing out on an easy start. For her, it's money for the gym. For him, it's startup capital to save the world. The confident smile of a predator who sees several moves ahead. Holding her card in his hands a second before the start, and the ring on the finger flares up, awakening the power of the past. Reality crumbles into pixels as his gaze merges with the game's code. Here he is again at the starting point, where his dreams and his fall began 10 years ago. The crowd looks up at the goddess Nua in awe, but only he knows that this is the beginning of the end. The first meeting with Nueva is a test of attentiveness, where one mistake can cost you a legendary start. The crowd goes crazy over her beauty, desperately trying to attract the attention of the goddess. Lin looks at those around him with irony, knowing how important it is to keep emotions under control. Nua passes judgment on frivolous players, sending them into the unknown with one imperative word: disgrace. To be in her good graces, you must bow your head and show respect. While everyone else panics, her gaze lingers on the hero. She feels that this is not an ordinary mortal standing before her. The goddess pierces with the question of immortality, and the entire universe seems to freeze in anticipation of the solution. Lin loudly and honestly gives himself to this chance, asking for blessings on the path of cultivation. Noah's smile promises good luck, and her gesture promises a new destiny, and a gift that no one else can possess. Lin senses the moment of truth. Now everything depends on what innate talent he will get in his second life. The flames dance around him, and his eyes reflect confidence. Even previous talent is no obstacle. For someone who knows all the secrets of the game, the interface produces the result. The twist of fate is an innate talent that challenges the heavens themselves. A smirk plays on his lips. This talent will truly break all the rules of the game. Nua offers to choose an avatar, completing the first stage of rebirth. By carefully studying the holograms of the models, he notices subtle differences in their characteristics. The choice falls on the model with the highest charisma rate among the starting characters. In his past life, beauty was a hindrance, but now he understands its true value. His gaze becomes sharper. His appearance directly affects his interaction with NPCs. The higher your charisma, the greater your chances of receiving rare quests and help from NPCs. Nueva nods, offering to choose a starting location to begin a new journey. The map features 4 starting locations, each associated with a specific class: magic, medicine, body, or sword. The detailed statistics of the Hero emphasized the balance of his talents, where each parameter is already at its maximum. Lin understands that in this life, maximum charisma will give him a huge advantage by deciding not to repeat the mistakes of the past. He chooses a class not for the sake of others, but for his own benefit. Nueva completes the design of the chosen class, reminding that the strongest are ready for trials at any moment. Lin, determined to become a master swordsman, accepts the challenge, relying on his survivability in single combat. Lin activates his weapon, realizing the full power of the new sword path, reinforced by the blinding winds. A bright beam of light shoots into the sky, marking the start of a new beginning in Mushan Village. New players react strongly to the realism of the environment and the importance of their actions. Lin recalls his past life with a slight smile, studying the crowd and anticipating the journey ahead. The crowd rushes towards the old man, confident that they have found a cool NPC with quests and are ready to crush him for the sake of extra experience. Our hero watches them gracefully, realizing that fake NPCs don't fall for such tricks. He has no hurry at all. He knows the route to the sword better than his breakfast. At this moment, a girl calls out to him politely but insistently. Intrigue is in the air. It turns out that it was Queen Yin, the owner of a local studio, who cleverly turned the crowd's interest onto herself and chose the main character for a personal mission without being embarrassed by the public. The beauty literally captivates our hero, promising him special tasks and an obvious secret quest. There are only loving glances and pink hearts all around. The audience is in shock. Half of them are already jealous. The hero is stunned. It wasn't the quest that caught his attention, but the maximum charisma. Now the NPCs themselves run to hand out tasks for the first time. He is at a loss as to how to react, but he is clearly flattered by the attention and seems to be thinking about it. The hero promises to return for quests later, and the beauty says goodbye with a mysterious smile. Our hero, with royal calm, refuses, the charming widow ignoring the envious glances of onlookers. He goes out into the street, as if looking for a new stage for his quest show. The Adventure Brothers try to stop him, saying that the blacksmith is a real grump and even hard of hearing. But our guy doesn't listen to whiners. Inside the forge, there's fire, steel, and complete fumes, while the advisors are rummaging around behind the scenes, and the hero is aiming to perform his magic. The blacksmith grumbles and puffs, but he only has one thought: what other quest while he's making swords? The handsome white-haired man smiles languidly. He has no time for cliches. He knows who is worth dealing with. Suddenly it was discovered that this silent blacksmith was a real legend of the village, and not just another extra. The blacksmith realizes that there is not enough heat. The fire is too small. It is time to put on a real show. After the explosion of flame, the sword is ready. Delight and pride all rolled into one. The blacksmith thanks the hero for his help, and our guy leaves with a new insight. The blacksmith makes a grand gesture to offer our guy the choice of any blade for the day. As a token of gratitude, the hero understands with a grin that this temporary right to a weapon is a cool bonus that is not available to beginners. An experienced player immediately sees hidden potential in this offer, and a huge plus for himself. He confidently chooses the most ordinary-looking iron sword. Knowing its true power, the master approves of the choice, as if he saw in the hero a kindred spirit who understands a thing or two about steel. The blacksmith immediately gives him a special task for Snake Fangs, promising a good reward with a new sword at the ready. He sets off on his journey, leaving behind a crowd of envious people. The resourceful hero throws a fake quest about a blacksmith's broken heart and a love ballad to the onlookers. He watches with cold blood as the poor wretches perform heartbreaking songs as they walk off into the sunset. As a result, the enraged blacksmith chases after the singers, who scream as they realize that they have been deceived. Our hero finds himself in a bamboo forest, where the snakes look more like overgrown boa constrictors. The giant snake tries to intimidate him, but the guy stands there looking like he's ordering coffee. He doesn't just dodge. He absorbs the monster's attack like it's an energy cocktail. Having gained his first experience, the hero realizes that the party is just beginning. With a bag of loot in his hands, he begins to suspect that his luck is some kind of systemic bug. Thoughts about your own coolness can wait, because the main goal is Fangs. Having entered into a fighting frenzy, he is already calculating how much more prey he can take out. He carries a bag of loot the size of a small elephant and looks pleased with this huge bag on his back. He sets off to close the quest and receive his reward. Returning to the blacksmith, he calmly hands over 10 pairs of fangs as if he had gone to the store. The blacksmith nods appraisingly, as if to say, "You did an excellent job, boy." Instead of money, he receives a mysterious letter that looks much more interesting than gold. Inside is an invitation to the legendary sword sect, which is a pass to the major leagues. The hero asks the blacksmith if he has been distributing such letters to everyone and receives a negative answer. He grins smugly, realizing that he was the first to solve this tricky quest. Meanwhile, a whole performance is unfolding in the square, where a guy with a bow is acting out a drama while selling a relic. The crowd immediately gets going, and the bets go up one after another, fueling the excitement suddenly. A graceful hand shoots up and announces a bet of 5,000, beating everyone else. A group of spectacular girls appears in the crowd, causing everyone around to freeze in amazement. The stranger confidently declares that she pays in cash, immediately showing who is the boss here. The new stranger makes a bet of 6,000, and the crowd freezes at such a sum. The head of the Wanshi Guild, Wang Jinghao himself, comes onto the stage. He looks closely at the hero, noticing his unique aura and power. The spectators whisper, recognizing the head of the famous guild. Among the simple merchants Lin sees before him, the one who once tried to lure him into his guild, Wang tries to play the friendship card by offering special terms for the deal. Our hero politely, but firmly refuses to sell anything other than equipment. The guild leader respectfully acknowledges the opponent's talent, hinting at possible cooperation. The price soars to 70,000. The crowd is speechless at such a price. The bet reaches 100,000, and Van smiles as if everything is going according to plan. The beauty raises the bet to 200,000, causing the crowd to gasp. In a matter of seconds, the price soars to 300,000, and the audience begins to whisper. Lin reflects on the courage of the stranger, who challenged the guild leader himself. The guild leader raises the bid to 500,000 gold, heightening the atmosphere. The girl with a smirk reminds the chief that his status is an empty phrase for her. The crowd whispers about crazy money, wondering where the girl gets such confidence from. The stranger declares that Vancha's guild is nothing compared to her. Mistress Wang gives in, admitting defeat in this auction. Lin calls out to the departing guild leader, hinting at a possible deal. The leader offers to join the guild in exchange for the bow, intriguing everyone present. The guild leader shows unexpected interest in what has happened. Assessing the situation, he immediately offers his help and is ready to transfer money immediately. Lin watches this performance, realizing that it is time to make an impression. The head of the guild decides to play along with the beauty, recognizing her charms, smiling to himself. Our hero reflects on the price of his new face. The master wonders how the newbie will waste precious arrows on meaningless quests. The beauty mocks the guild leader, demanding that he brings slippers. All the participants disperse, and Lin thinks about how to compensate for the loss. The company splits up and goes hunting for wild boar in different directions. The girl notices a familiar figure in the distance, clearly not by chance who is nearby. The beauty addresses our hero with feigned irritation. Lin offers a private conversation, promising not to waste much time. The girl asks about the reasons for his search. Keeping her distance, she reflects on the hero's meeting with Wang and his interest in the sect. The hero offers top secret news for only 500,000 coins. The girl shows interest in information that could help the guild. Lin explains his independent position in this world with a grin. He discusses possible cooperation with a lady who shares a dislike for a common enemy. The hero unfolds his bill, indicating his readiness to make a deal. The deal is made, and both are happy with the benefits received. Lin advises not to waste time on boars and return to the blacksmith for the real mission. The girl reacts furiously to Wang's possible deception by threatening violence. The hero calmly explains that to receive the task, he must first sell the swords and perform the line. He gives clear instructions to keep everything secret so that the information does not become worthless. With a mysterious smile, Lin shows the letter, hinting at a special reward. The beauty instantly recognizes the seal of the sword. Checked on the document, the girl shows interest in further actions. Try to understand the motives of the interlocutor. Lin responds with a compliment, masking the true reasons for his disposition. Suddenly, a giant boar with scarlet eyes appears, interrupting their conversation. The monster turns out to be much stronger than the hunters expected, forcing them to unite in a panic. The girls scream about retreating because their strength is not enough to fight the boss. The white-haired warrior confidently volunteers to fight the strongest boss of the newcomer village. He carelessly asks if anyone would like to lend him a sword in exchange for the bow and arrows he sold. With an excited gleam in his eyes, he catches the blade thrown to him. The blade flashes blue in his hands, as if recognizing its new owner. The girls whisper to each other, discussing the recklessness of the hero, who decided to show off in front of his sister Wanling. One can't help but laugh as she watches Sister Wanling become embarrassed. The warrior reflects with annoyance that it would be easier to defeat the enemy with a bow. At the decisive moment, he delivers a powerful blow with a flaming blade to the dark figure of the boss. Confident of victory, he plans to attack the weak point to end the fight faster. With a sly grin, the warrior reflects that he will have to cheat a little in this fight. With a sharp movement, he rushes forward, dragging the enemy along with him. The girls watch the fight with alarm, laughing at the boss's frightened appearance. Sister Wanling displeasantly remarks that who asked him to show off. Shouting a battle cry, the warrior leaps towards danger. With a powerful blow, the boss loses 50 points of health. A series of rapid attacks falls upon the monster. Reducing its vital signs, the girls are amazed and cannot understand what the brave warrior has planned. An ominous light of anticipation. A victory lights up in the fighter's eyes. The combination of blows is accompanied by bright flashes of energy. The hero comes face to face with an enraged boss, whose eyes are blazing with scarlet fire. Provoking the enemy, the warrior mockingly asks if he is still alive. A huge boar with a furious roar rushes to attack the daring fighter. With a final farewell, the warrior raises his gleaming blade for the finishing blow. With a battle cry, he plunges his sword straight into the monster's grinning mouth. Flames envelop the warrior's figure when the fate reversal talent is triggered. Having reached the 70th level of development, he enters the chi purification phase. A satisfied smile plays on his face from the unexpected luck of meeting such a boss. The system congratulates the hero on his first kill of the boss of the 8th wasteland with a slight grin. He refuses to hide his name since there is no longer any need for it. A crowd of players are amazed to hear about the incredible victory over a newbie boss named Lin. The sister in the pink dress freezes in amazement upon hearing the familiar name. Among the treasures of the fallen boss, the hero finds rare books of mastery and mountains of gold coins. Clouds are gathering on the horizon, and the system warns of an approaching disaster. In 30 minutes, the warrior learns with alarm that breaking through the purification phase can lead to the dispersal of the soul. In search of salvation, he decides to turn to his sect for help. The girl playfully offers to add the hero as a friend in order to profitably acquire his future prey. With a swift movement, the warrior shows his game ID. The username and unique code appear on the transparent screen. Having said a hasty goodbye, the hero disappears, taking with him a bag of loot. The system announces a new friendship with the mysterious Lin, while the girls exchange surprised glances. A desperate cry for help echoes throughout the set as the warrior begs for salvation. From the impending disaster to the sound of thunder, the hero kneels at the majestic steps of the temple, declaring his readiness to become a disciple. The sect's disciples watch the new cultivator's rapid run with bewilderment. In the gathering twilight, the sky is illuminated by a mysterious glow, causing alarm among the inhabitants of the temple. The sudden appearance of the mysterious leader of the sect leaves everyone frozen in awe. The beautiful teacher, in flowing robes, appears before her astonished students. The sages of the sect try to unravel the nature of the heavenly sign, pondering a possible breakthrough. There are whispers of curiosity among the cultivators about the identity of the one who has achieved enlightenment. The majestic head of the sect graciously accepts the new disciple into his ranks. In despair, the warrior raises his hands to the sky, begging for help amidst the peals of thunder. The hero picks up the talisman, hoping for a miraculous rescue. Lightning lights up the sky as the force of a celestial disaster hits the earth, even in the face of death. The hero continues to clutch the treasure talisman. The elders of the sect watch in amazement as the previously unseen purification phenomenon occurs. The beautiful mentor generously offers all the resources of the sect to train the new student. The old master tries to dissuade the elder from accepting. Another disciple with a sly grin. The warrior notes that the sect is full of big shots. The mysterious mentor decisively announces her choice of a new student. Other masters admit with surprise that this is the first time the head has made an exception to the rules. The beautiful mentor looks at the potential student with interest. The hero is delighted to learn about the opportunity to join the legendary sword sect. In a deep bow, the warrior expresses his desire to become a disciple. The little student hugs his new teacher's legs with genuine admiration. The majestic palace of the sword appears in all its calm splendor. The mentor gracefully leaves, scheduling a meeting in an hour. The hero reflects thoughtfully on the importance of first impressions. At the appointed hour, the warrior waits alone at the entrance to the main hall. Curiosity drives him to explore the mysterious pagodas of the inner courtyard. The architecture of the ancient palace makes him freeze in admiration. The curious hero slips through the half-open door of someone else's chambers. A beautiful stranger with long black hair turns around abruptly at the sound of footsteps. The warrior realizes in horror that he has accidentally wandered into the palace of the master. Himself, the embarrassed offender quickly bows an apology. A powerful wave of energy throws the intruder back several steps. The angry mistress of the chambers menacingly advances towards the disturber of the peace. The hero tries to justify himself with his long wait and curiosity. The master condescendingly forgives the newcomer's ignorance of the sect's rules. In a stern tone, she forbids anyone from entering the palace without permission. In the future, as a conciliatory gesture, The mentor gives the student a mysterious purple jade pill. A gray-haired man in traditional dress kneels in front of a lattice gate and thanks his master later. With a wound on his cheek, he decides to keep something for himself without accepting it. He smirks as he notices that someone has finally appeared. A girl with dark hair appears in front of him and introduces herself as his older sister, who has come to help him get settled in. He bows politely and greets his sister. The sister says she will look after him, and their friendliness increases from the first meeting. The man thinks about the importance of making a good first impression and admires his sister's beauty and abilities. The girl is surprised and embarrassed by her brother's flattery. He tells her that improvement must be an art, not just hard work. He says with a sly smile that flattering is better than working, which surprises the girl. The girl laughs merrily and her favor increases. After a pleasant conversation, the white-haired man is surprised at how quickly the favor level has increased and thinks that it is easier to get along with his sister. Then with the master, he imagines himself in a romantic relationship, but then remembers that his attempts to get close to NPCs in the past ended badly suddenly. The man starts bleeding from his mouth, which scares his sister. She runs up to him and excitedly asks what happened and where he got hurt. In pain, he reflects that his old injury has not healed and hopes to take advantage of the situation. He answers with a smile that nothing terrible happened. He just accidentally ended up in the master's palace and was beaten by her. The girl guiltily explains that the master asked her to take him, but she got engrossed in reading a novel and stayed late. She offers him the medicine, and he thanks her and takes it, thinking that he has received another useful thing. The sister says that it is her fault, but he reassures her by taking the blame on himself. The girl tells her brother with admiration that he is very kind, and her favor towards him increases again. As compensation, he receives a jade pendant that has protective properties and the ability to create a spiritual shield. The sister offers him the compensation with a smile, and he accepts the bag. He admires his sister's generosity, calling the pendant the best spiritual equipment, and she laughs, assuring him that she still has many treasures. His sister calls him to follow her into the room with the equipment for beginners, and he thanks her. He is happy that he was able to get so much and reflects on the need to treat NPCs like people. Reading their emotions, they approach a glowing blue array, which according to the sister, allows one to absorb spiritual energy faster. The sister, surrounded by energy, says that she envies him because not everyone can practice here. Floating in the air, she explains that under normal conditions, the level of beginner players increases more slowly. He is surprised that he has access to this place and suggests that the master may have created it specifically for him. The sister says goodbye to her brother, and he says the same in return. Left alone, the gray-haired man sits down to meditate in the flow of spiritual energy. A young man with dark hair wakes up in his bed with the thought that he has returned. He picks up his phone and sees a notification from a bank on the screen that more than 1.5 million and has been credited to his account. Jumping out of bed, he is happy that he has earned so much money in just 5 hours and will now be able to change his worthless fate. A girl with an athletic figure and a basketball in her hand stands on the street. The young man opens the door for her and asks with a smile if she has arrived. He explains to the surprised girl that he invited her so early, not to go jogging, but so that she could check out his new apartment. The girl enters the spacious living room, impressed by the new apartment, and he says that the rent is $5,000 to $6,000 a month. She playfully asks if he's spending her gym money, to which he smiles and replies that he wants to spend it on her. So he doesn't burden her. The girl furiously attacks the young man, accusing him of embezzling her money. She mounts him and begins to beat him, screaming that he will become her punching bag. While he tries unsuccessfully to stop her, the girl continues to beat him, calling him a pervert, and he asks her not to talk nonsense. Their quarrel is interrupted by a delivery man, who announces that he has brought a gaming chair from Mr. Lin, and the beaten guy asks to wait a minute. The young man explains that he made money in the game and bought a chair, while the girl, jumping off him, shouts at the delivery people not to return the goods. While the delivery guys are bringing in a huge gaming chair, the girl invites the guy to stay with her, since it won't fit in his apartment. The girl is delighted and runs to take pictures of the new model of the chair, and the guy decides to return to the game to earn more money. Returning to the game, he thanks the master for the praise, but thinks that his development has stalled, and he needs a special elixir. The master offers him a top-quality collection pill that will help him break through to the middle stage of purification. He gratefully accepts the pill, knowing that such a treasure is only available to the highest sex. The teacher flashes a cold light and reminds the student that strength is born, not only from talent, but also from drops of sweat shed on the battlefield. The young man clenches his fist and remembers that thunderstorms grow oaks, not hothouse flowers, accepting the challenge of fate. Her eyes soften, and an invisible interface whispers sympathy +5. Friendship is born. The disciple rejoices that the path to the master's heart is open and loudly dreams of becoming the pinnacle of cultivation. The master hands him a small pill as bait and sends him to the mission hall to choose a high difficulty task. Before leaving, she hands over a bundle of tablets called the Sword Sect Sutra and tells one to sharpen one's mind through persistent practice. The guy beams and thanks so sincerely that even the heavy scroll seems like a feather. And about the rules for the rest, he only smirks to himself. In the morning sun, the majestic outer hall of the Sword Sect, spread out with terraces and white steps as if inviting heroes. The apprentice walks through the crowd of recruits. Feeling the thirst for missions thicken the air around him, he smooths a strand of gray hair and thinks with quiet confidence that the main thing has already been done. He has become a student. The white-haired disciple casually waves goodbye. As two girls watch him leave the sect courtyard, the beauty raises an eyebrow in surprise, and her interlocutor smiles slyly. Watching what is happening, the high walls of the mission hall hold mysteries, and the senior student ponders the difficulty of the upcoming tests. In the shadow of ancient lanterns, a young warrior listens to the announcement of the next candidate for the mission. Disciple Lin proudly introduces himself to the crowd, showing confidence in his abilities. A girl in traditional dress gently advises to choose a task according to one's abilities. Hinting at hidden wisdom, the gray-haired student's gaze clings to the simple mission of collecting herbs, realizing that even in small things, there is an opportunity for growth. Glowing mission signs beckon with their glow, promising challenges and glory to those who dare. The beautiful administrator anxiously warns about the enemy's strength, which exceeds the level of the newbie. Students whisper in the shadows of the ancient walls, discussing the ambitions of a newcomer who has taken on a difficult mission. The student realizes that looking for the killer is like looking for a needle in a haystack, and decides to simply wait until he reveals himself. Suddenly, three beauties greet him as an honored guest, promising pleasant company and rest from worries. In the square, the herald, like a living newspaper, broadcasts the latest events and intrigues in a world of martial arts. The hero drinks tea and listens patiently, knowing that the old gossip stories contain a key to the solution. The narrator slams the table and loudly announces the brutal murder of the Sword Sect disciple, adding drama to the narrative. The young man quickly runs up to the storyteller to buy the news before it flies away with the wind. The old man smiles slyly and agrees, because he knows that a smart newbie is ready to pay for tips and not rush into battle blindly. The informant gives him a tip and points the way to the flower tower, where the depraved Joe How lives. For an additional fee of 5 spiritual stones, the old man promises another valuable item, and the hero agrees with interest. With a sly grin, the narrator whispers that the target has a brother, Joe Shun, and that changes everything. In the noisy flower tower, wine flows like a river, and the air is filled with false laughter and promises of imminent pleasure. Mr. Joe leaves the abode of debauchery, accompanied by cloying smiles and promises of eternal devotion. On the street, he laughs smugly and advises girls to line up for his attention next time. In the shadows of the city at night, the gray-haired avenger watches his target and coldly states that the hunt has begun. The moon illuminates the snowy forest, where the victim turns around in fear at the sound of footsteps, and behind him, the whisper of death can already be heard. The villain smirks contemptuously and takes out his sword, considering the young avenger to be just a minor obstacle in his path. With a furious cry, he rushes into the attack, confident that his strength is enough to easily deal with the insolent. Man's swords meet in a dance of steel, and blue swirls of energy fill the clear, revealing the unexpected power of the young warrior. A bright flash illuminates the forest, and the hero sends the enemy flying with one precise blow. Breaking his defense, the defeated villain looks on in horror, unable to believe that he was defeated by a newcomer, whose strength was beyond comprehension. The hero grins because his power is not magic, but just a bonus from diligent training. According to the ancient sutra, a sudden blast of purple energy cuts through the air, showing that the enemy has not yet given up. It's time to test the mentor's gift, and the jade pendant on the belt flashes with a bright light. The spiritual shield envelopes the hero in a turquoise glow, easily reflecting enemy attacks. The gray-haired youth looks at the new, useful skill with a satisfied expression, understanding its value in battle. The enemy gnashes his teeth and demands that equipment be handed over in exchange for life, not realizing the full extent of his stupidity. The hero only snorts contemptuously at such impudence, because his treasures are not for strangers' hands. The enemy rushes back into battle in a rage, shrouded in purple lightning and a thirst for revenge. The warrior creates illusory clones that rush forward. Like a blue hurricane, the villain retreats in panic, realizing that none of his blows reach their target, and the situation is getting out of control. Zhou Hao takes a powerful blow from above, reducing his health by 90 points, and his face shows shock. Lin stoically analyzes his superior characteristics, confidently looking at the opponent. Demonstrating concentration, Zhou Hao charges forward with a shout, raising his sword for a decisive blow. Lin defeats Zhou Hao by approaching menacingly with a scarlet weapon and demanding the defeated man's secret technique. Zhou Hao falls off the ledge, falling down under Lin's heavy blow. One of Zhou Hao's companions appears at the edge of the gorge, calling on another character to save him. Lin coldly stated that Zhou Hao had underestimated his strength and must answer for it. Zhou Hao's brother appears with a dark purple glow, displaying an overwhelming presence. And Power Zhou reproaches Zhou Hao for his carelessness and says that his intervention saved him from death. Lin smirks and demands that Zhou give him the spiritual shield or face torture. Zhou promises to help his brother after he recovers his strength, while Zhou Hao holds his injured arm. Zhou Hao takes a powerful hit, reducing his health by 300 points. Screaming in pain, Lin strikes the enemy with rare precision, forcing the second Zhou brother to defend himself. Zhou Hao loses his balance, blood pouring out his mouth, while Lin asserts his advantage. Lin threatens Zhou, promising to kill both brothers for a reward. Lin concentrates his energy into a scarlet weapon, aiming it at Zhou in a menacing manner. Zhou viciously attacks Lin using a powerful purple blade. Lin finds himself in a difficult situation, having lost some of his health and being surrounded by energy. Zhou suddenly attacks Lin from behind, concentrating his killing energy. The scene ends with a clash between Lin's red sword and Zhou's dark energy, demonstrating a quality of power. Lin assesses the situation, considering the need for careful calculation before taking the next dangerous action. Zhou runs furiously, thinking about how losing to a younger opponent would be a disgrace to him. Lin delivers a powerful sword strike. Releasing purple energy, Lin takes 300 health damage, while contemplating an unavailable spiritual shield for protection. Lin uses the shadow step technique to provide tactical movement and clashes with opponents. Zhou activates the split technique, creating an illusion of himself to confuse the enemy. Lin finds himself surrounded by 3 opponents and prepares to fight. Lin analyzes the cloning technique, noting the difference between the original and its shadows. Lin notices the brightness of light in the original Zhou's eyes, identifying the true enemy. Zhu deals an armor-piercing blow to the enemy, dealing 55 damage and leaving a text effect. Lin charges forward with determination, using the armor-piercing effect to reduce the enemy's defense. Zhou takes a devastating blow, losing 110 health and screaming horribly. A powerful shockwave emanates from the opponents, knocking Lin down and opening up Zhou's fury explosion. Zhu unleashes a powerful attack, declaring his superiority over the powerless tiger. Lin struggles to defend against the rapidly alternating attacks, losing health with each hit. He understands the danger of his situation and takes out the purple jade pill to save himself. Lin swallows the pill, remembering the master's instructions and desperately fighting for his life. Lin's strength and health are restored, surrounding him with a powerful purple aura. Zhu issues a vicious challenge, anticipating a long fight before defeating his relieved opponent. Lin suddenly reflects Zhou's attack, restoring 3,000 health, causing him to be shocked. Zhou points out the limitations of using the Lin pill, with a sarcastic smile, suggesting that its effects will soon expire. Lin attacks with fury, dealing a powerful blow that deals 180 health damage, forcing Zhou to defend himself. Lin states that his goal is to kill Zhou, while the pill's effect is still in effect. Zhu is stunned by Lin's sudden increase in power and is forced into a defensive stance. Lin enhances his swordsmanship, increasing his swordsmanship ability by 5, noting with admiration the increase in skills. Zhou takes a series of devastating blows, losing a significant amount of health. Zhu panics and realizes that he must not let such an important opponent escape. Zhou activates his supernatural power, surrounding himself with dark vortices and magical traces. Lin uses the void step technique, dodging Zhou's powerful attack and moving into an advantageous position. Zhou reacts to the attack's evasion with despair and rage, preparing for his next maneuver. Lin and Zhou clash in a powerful sword clash, creating bright flashes of energy. Zhou takes a devastating blow, losing 466 health and is left in disbelief. Lin completes the Hell difficulty mission, receiving a system notification of success. The mission has made Lin rich, and he decides to return to the city for his reward. Lin thoughtfully considers the need to do something important before arriving in the city center. Lin ponders over a gift for the master to commemorate the first fulfillment of the sex mission. Lin discusses the importance of etiquette and respect for the master. In their world, Lin stops in front of the jade shop, deciding to buy some jewelry. Lin arrives to hand over the assignment, receiving rave reviews for the mission's speedy completion. Other students discuss with surprise the completion of a hell-level mission that requires an advanced level of chi purification. The sex minister happily announces to Lin his worthy place in the inner palace and a bright future as an additional reward. Hundreds of low-grade spiritual stones appear in front of Lin. Lin gratefully accepts the reward, causing surprise among those around him at the number of stones he received. The surrounding students admire Lin's achievements and try to attract his attention. The students persistently call Lin to join their guild, but he quickly runs away. 2 guards block the path of the pursuers, protecting the disciple of the inner sect. The other disciples note Lin's new status in the inner sect. With respect, Lin arrives to the master, reporting his return after completing the mission. The master sternly reprimands Lin for arbitrarily choosing a hellish mission instead of a difficult one. Lin humbly admits his mistake to the master. Bowing his head, she casually inquires about the enemy's strength, as if the student's victory was a foregone conclusion. He admits that the enemy turned out to be stronger than he thought, but the real horror was instilled by his brother, who appeared out of nowhere. When asked if he managed it himself, the student gratefully responded that it would have been impossible without her help. The master reproaches him for his recklessness, but immediately hands him a divine talisman, a forbidden weapon for emergencies. Inspired by the support he feels, omnipotent, but is afraid of ruining their fragile relationship, she gives him a breakthrough pill, the final step to new strength, and waits with hope for his success. He bows in gratitude, but is immediately brought down to earth, his weak swordsmanship pointed out. He timidly hands her a modest gift, a cheap hairpin burning with fear that she won't like it, with her final words of encouragement. He begins his training, his determination blazing brighter than a flame. He is tormented by doubt, thinking that he offended her with his gift, not knowing that it was at that moment that their friendship began. His adventure was crowned with success, and he could hardly contain his jubilation. Realizing that the master's disposition towards him had improved, he leaves with the look of a winner, because another step has been taken towards conquering the icy heart of the unapproachable beauty. His triumph is interrupted by a powerful explosion, causing him to turn around in horror and shudder with sudden alarm. The commotion and shouts of other students confirm that something out of the ordinary has happened. Meanwhile, the sword sect elder is in despair over yet another failed attempt to create the perfect pill. In desperation, he turns to his students for help, who need a rare ingredient for his alchemical experiments. The students retreat in horror when they learn of the hellish level of difficulty of the task, because no one wants to risk their lives. Suddenly, Lin emerges from the crowd and declares with bold confidence that he is ready to take on this mission. The elder is surprised to recognize the daredevil as the very same newcomer. A sly grin appears on his face, because he understands that a good relationship with this old man will solve all his problems. He confidently walks through the night forest, because his past life is the key to hunting the elusive boss. He found his target, but his joy was replaced by annoyance. Someone had already entered the battle. The battle turned into a massacre, and the cries of the fallen warriors echoed across the clearing. He watches the carnage with a cold grin, knowing that it's all over for these newcomers. Having played the observer for a while, he decides to intervene, because saving these poor fellows is now his performance. His appearance stuns the 2 girls, and one of them is amazed to recognize him as the same. Handsome master, he imperiously demands that the boss be given to him, because his mission cannot be delayed, and he thinks it will be easier to come to an agreement with acquaintances. The guild leader turns around, and her companion asks anxiously if she knows this insolent man. She confirms that this is the same master, who single-handedly defeated the king of boars and soared to the top of the rankings. But behind her calmness lies calculation. After all, it was from him that she bought information about the blacksmith's task. She understands that he came for the boss for the sake of the sword. Sex Sutra, but their own goal does not allow them to give in. Even if he is a friend, she politely apologizes, offering him to wait until tomorrow. But he understands with a slight grin that the falcon will not be given to him. However, his sly grin suggests that he sees their desperate situation, and he won't have to wait until tomorrow. Meanwhile, her comrades writhe in agony, their screams drowned out by the chaos of battle, as their strength rapidly fades. The merciless boss deals crushing blows, and dying cries for help echo off the cold rocks. He calmly gives them a warning about the boss's deadly attack, and this knowledge shocks them, throwing aside negotiations. She rushes into battle with a furious cry, calling on everyone to focus on the enemy. Her hands are bound by an unknown force as she unleashes an ancient spell to immobilize the monster. Gathering all her will into a fist, she unleashes a firestorm, her eyes burning with determination to incinerate the enemy. She is left alone against the enraged beast, and at this moment, the outcome of the battle depends only on her. He explains with a sly smile that the falcon's anger will only increase his strength and attack speed. Desperate warriors admit that the Blood Fiends Guild is too strong, and they have always had to retreat. She inspires them to show their guild strength, even if they have to lose. They realize that they could defeat the Falcon if they got closer. But now all their strength is needed to fight the guild. He generously offers to help you fight the boss, but asks for a piece of equipment as a reward. The girls look at each other in amazement. Not believing their ears, he reassures his comrades, assuring them that he can handle the guild alone. The enemy leader laughs mockingly, considering it madness to fight the Falcon one-on-one. Enraged by his mockery, he calls his brothers forward, promising to teach these little brats a lesson in the heat of battle. A desperate cry is heard to stop them, but the fury of the battle can no longer be calmed. He mockingly shouts that not everyone is capable of fighting in this valley, hinting at their inappropriate appearance here. She bitterly admits the truth of his words about a beautiful place, that they would be better off not leaving. Clutching her weapon resolutely, she vows to send them back to where they came from immediately. The gang leader gleefully warns that they brought trouble upon themselves by engaging in battle with his guild. He boastfully claims that he destroyed another guild just a few days into the game, demonstrating his power. His eyes widen in surprise when he hears the incredible statement. A system notification appears on the screen, indicating that player Lin has killed the Purification Realm boss. The girl promises to defeat the Falcon with hope in her voice, without taking her eyes off her opponent. With a triumphant smile, he invites everyone to share the rewards for the victory. The enraged leader shouts about the unthinkable audacity of stealing his boss and orders the impudent man to be killed immediately. The leader furiously promises a generous reward for killing the insolent man, and his henchman readily rushes into battle. The opponent proudly declares his 20 years of experience in the UFC and activates the early stage cleansing technique. Lin dodges the attack with lightning speed. A powerful sword strike is launched at the enemy, dealing 545 critical damage. The young man mockingly remarks that 9 years of practice in a past life is enough to deal with such weaklings. Enemies watch in horror at the incredible power of his blows, not understanding how such high damage is possible without the use of skills. He calmly explains that he is not looking for trouble, but if he is drawn into a guild conflict, the consequences will be fatal. His eyes flash with a furious fire as he calls his opponent an arrogant boy. The enraged fighters call on everyone to attack together, without fear of the middle stage of purification, saying disdainfully, "Little ones." He easily repels their combined attack, demonstrating overwhelming superiority in the middle of the battlefield. He mockingly asks who will dare to challenge him next. The leader in desperation calls on his brothers to retreat, promising that sooner or later they will return and take back what is theirs. The girl thanks Master Lin for his help, but he just brushes it off, considering it a trifle. Before them lies an impressive collection of recovered equipment, including rare swords and artifacts. He reminds them of their agreement, according to which he takes the grass and any other item of his choice. She acknowledges his full right to the prey, since he single-handedly defeated the Falcon, but he modestly refuses. An impressive sum of 5 million yuan suddenly appears in her account. In the moonlight, she finally introduces herself as Jiang, the leader of the Moon Shadow Guild. He gives his name briefly as Lin Ziken. Their handshake seals the beginning of a new acquaintance. Under the light of the full moon, he recognizes her as Jiang, whom he saw in the rankings in his past life, the second richest streamer after him. Her eyes light up with excitement as she decides to act quickly and enjoy this intoxicating wealth. Master Lin laughs and waves it off, saying that he was just thinking and not doing anything on purpose. He says goodbye, politely promising to return at the first opportunity. She smiles, noting his boyfriend. Pleasant nature, but her friend warns of possible ulterior motives. Brushing aside the empty talk, she suggests they go mentioning along the way a reward of 50,000 yuan for each fighter in the guild. Gotzi watches this scene from the shade of a bamboo grove. With a satisfied smile, a message appears on the screen about a major broadcast that will allow you to see the Master's superiority in action. There are enthusiastic comments in the chat about how easily Master Lin defeated the boss in the late stage of purification. Gotzi publicly proclaims Lin as his current supreme master and idol. The guild leader looks at his laptop screen in rage, where his rival has become a local celebrity after killing guild members and stealing the boss. In anger, He vows to kill the impudent man if he meets him in the game again. Lin calmly reports to the elder that the mission has been completed. The elder joyfully welcomes his return and asks him to quickly put the grass on the table. The old man presents him with a reward, saying that he cannot let his efforts go to waste. Lin thanks the elder, receiving a pill that increases stats and speeds up skill recovery. He cautiously inquires if the elder is making the formula for the charm pill. Remembering his past life, he wonders if the elder would be more favorable if he told him the formula. The elder admits that he has already tried unsuccessfully to create a pill 10 times and is now forced to search for ingredients by waiting. When the ancient book is mentioned, Lin begins to list the exact proportions of ingredients for the formula. A sudden attack by an invisible force leaves the elder shocked and confused. After grueling joint efforts, their risky alchemical ritual was finally successful. Impressed by his help, the elder presents him with a rare artifact as a token of gratitude. He can't believe his luck, because this charm pill is an incredibly valuable item that will change the rules of the game. He feigns deep gratitude, but in his head, he already has a plan to use this gift for his own benefit. Suddenly, the elder stops him and makes an offer that could change his whole life. He freezes in indecision before a difficult choice. To agree means to betray, but refusal can be a fatal mistake. His powerful mentor suddenly appears, challenging the elder who is trying to lure away her only student. He looks in horror at his mistress, whose presence and power are literally overwhelming. Panic grips him. He is afraid that the mentor will misunderstand everything and desperately looks for a way out of the awkward situation. The elder quickly makes excuses, trying to smooth over the awkward situation and calm the mentor's anger. He breathes a sigh of relief, but his mistress only enters into a verbal duel, defending her authority with a sly grin. She sets a condition that sounds more like a challenge than a compromise. His mentor's icy gaze pierces him and he panics, not understanding what he did to deserve her anger. The elder happily accepts the deal, unaware of his opponent's ulterior motives. As soon as the elder leaves, the atmosphere again becomes tense to the limit. In a commanding tone, she orders him to follow her, and this simple command makes his blood run cold. He is overcome with horror because the lady's unkind tone does not bode well. She offers to break their agreement, and her words, full of icy calm, scare him to death. He desperately tries to refuse and begs for forgiveness, but she only coldly asks where exactly he went wrong. He sincerely repents of his mistake, admitting that he betrayed her trust and acted stupidly. He sees her icy gaze warm up and knows his words have hit their mark. In a fit of devotion, he extols her to the skies, calling her his one and only mentor. He falls to his knees, swearing eternal loyalty and rejecting the very thought of another teacher. His passionate words melt her heart, and he's relieved to see that she trusts him again. She generously forgives him, and he takes advantage of the moment to promise never to make such mistakes again, to cement his success. He presents her with a shining gift as a sign of his repentance. Surprise flashes in her eyes, because the box contains the legendary beauty pill, which is almost impossible to get. She refuses the priceless gift, saying that he needs it more, and this baffles him. He insists, claiming that he is only carrying out the elder's will, and hands her the box. He defiantly declares that he will master alchemy himself, so as not to depend on handouts. With desperate determination, he offers her the gift again, vowing to work hard every day. Her sly grin disarms him, and he realizes that she is playing with him again. He resorts to flattery, saying that her beauty does not need enhancement, but this gift is a sign of his devotion. Finally, she takes the pill, and a pop-up window confirms that his trick has worked, and her favorability has skyrocketed. In return, she promises him access to secret combat techniques, which takes his breath away. He rejoices because his plan worked perfectly. Now she will lead him to new heights of power. He is surprised to notice the hairpin he gave her earlier in her hair, and his heart fills with warmth. He goes into meditation, and all his incredible skills and artifacts flash before his eyes. His determination grows stronger, for he is no longer just a student, but a sword cultivator whose destiny is to accomplish great things. Fiery energy fills the air as he activates the legendary skill. Phoenix Feather, he is filled with delight at the realization that this move is twice as powerful as the Ice Moon. Strike. An unexpected meeting between brother and sister in a night corridor fills the air with tension. She smiles sweetly, asking for help, but there is anxiety and despair in her eyes. Her voice trembles as she admits that she has not completed a single task and is afraid of punishment. His heart softens when he learns that his sister has become engrossed in a romance novel and has forgotten about her missions. She folds her hands in a pleading manner, asking for help in destroying the demon in the village. He can't resist her request, remembering how his sister always took care of him. Her face lights up with a happy smile, When her brother agrees to cover for her, the system reacts instantly, noting the increase in favor and issuing a new task. The knight's settlement is enveloped in a chilling aura as they learn of an invasion of evil spirits and vow to find traces of the heretic monk. He seriously agrees to cleanse the village and report the truth to the elder, remembering the prophecy about the hidden entrance to the dungeons. Numb they gaze at the mysterious cauldron, from which comes the ominous whisper of green sparks. In the blink of an eye, a screaming ghost emerges from the depths of the cauldron, breaking the silence of the night. She rushes forward with a scream, drawing her sword, as if ready to sacrifice herself for the sake of defense. With a whirlwind of light, she sweeps away the spirit covering her brother with her body, and not flinching for a second. He is stunned to note that there is not just one creature lurking in the well, but a whole horde of otherworldly faces. She bitterly admits that the entire village has turned into an ominous choir of spirits. His eyes light up with determination, and he vows to exterminate every demon in the name of justice. She looms over the ghost, her voice shaking with rage as she announces his sentence: death for the murder of innocents. She rises into the air, her blade glowing with purple energy, and she vows to avenge the fallen villagers. He is stunned to see that her blows are twice as powerful as he could have imagined. A giant green hand emerges from the depths of the well. She meets it with a blow, dispersing energy in a devastating counterattack. He freezes in alarm, asking if she's okay, and she clutches her sword and nods to indicate that she's alive. A menacing demon with a staff appears in clouds of black smoke, his eyes burning with scarlet flames. They realize in horror that he has only broken through to the golden elixir stage and can now surpass them. The demon laughs mockingly, praising his instincts and foreshadowing his growing power. It soars above them, releasing a deadly wave of green energy that causes the earth to shrink. She desperately orders her brother to retreat behind and prepares to meet this deadly avalanche. The heretic demon explodes in rage, threatening to replace them with his own hideous puppets. He raises his staff and fires a piercing purple beam from the sky at the doll. She soars forward, piercing the space with a purple whirlwind, and rushing into a counterattack. He panics and realizes that a newbie of his level would be better off staying away from a fight between such masters. He blasts the darkness around him with distracting magic, giving his sister a chance to get to the source of the evil. She cuts the vessel, but it explodes with black energy and releases the demonic entity, enveloped in seething red smoke. The hero strains every ounce of his strength, preparing for a deadly confrontation. A bloody baby soars into the night sky, emitting a wild scream and sowing panic. Thick lightning cuts through the sky as they leap to avoid the giant demonic paw. He brings down the shining blade and delivers a fatal blow. He orders his sister to focus on the demon, taking on the task of personally stopping this madness. The bloody baby lets out a terrible roar, greedily demanding their heart and liver. A lightning blade pierces the air, and he barely manages to dodge the deadly blow. The bloodbath phase begins, with screams that shatter the mind and weaken their abilities. He raises his golden sword, and its flash drives away the dark horde. The blast wave pierces the armor, and he freezes in front of his sister, covering her with himself. It pierces him. This power is higher than any Frost Moon technique. The demon shudders and, tearing his chest, swears not to give up, even in death. He looks at his sister with respect in the purple glow, admitting his mistake and underestimating her. The debris flies away as the demon proclaims that he will drag them to hell with him. A poisonous pink mist blooms in the air, and he screams in despair at his sister to save herself. But it is too late. The pollen instantly takes hold of her, distorting her feelings into an uncontrollable, feverish desire. He catches her, his face full of worry, but she can only whisper in shame. So he doesn't see her like this. He looks away, trying to contain himself. But he knows that her innocence has collided with a vice. She can't fight alone. She looks at him with a clouded gaze and says one word that changes everything. At that moment, his heart stops because her feelings for him, although artificially induced, became reality, burning with shame and desire. She begs him for help, unable to bear this torment any longer. He looks at her, and his gaze mixes pain, compassion, and forbidden feelings. A painful desire runs through his mind. A fantasy of what might have been if everything had been different. But reality is cruel, and they fall into an abyss where their fall seems endless. Cold reason returns, and he thinks with horror about the consequences. When she wakes up, all his efforts will go to waste. He remembers the ancient well, the last chance for salvation. But the price for the elixir may be too high. He can wait no longer, and leaving his sister, he rushes into the unknown with a desperate vow to find an antidote. He finds himself trapped, surrounded by darkness, with only a small flame from a torch giving him a glimmer of hope. The terrible truth is revealed to him. Among hundreds of skeletons, This is a mass grave, and he is standing in the middle of it. The cursed place sucks the life out of him. And with every second, his strength melts away, and death becomes closer. On the brink of death, gritting his teeth in pain, he understands that there is no way back. Only forward to salvation or to death. The gaze snatches from the darkness a figure on a throne of skulls, the guardian of what he came for. Here, it is the elixir in the bony hands of death, sparkling with the last hope in this kingdom of despair, gathering his last strength. He breaks away from the spot, turning into a ghostly whirlwind, to snatch life from the clutches of death. As soon as he grabbed the elixir, ominous shadows enveloped him, foreshadowing a new mortal danger. He puts up a spiritual shield, but the dark energy, as if alive, breaks through his defense with frightening ease. With each passing second, the darkness thickens, and he realizes that he has fallen into a trap from which there is no escape. Grabbing the precious bottle, he starts to run, but the path to salvation is blocked by invisible walls of the curse. An invisible force grabs him, not letting him go, and he realizes with despair that the trap will not let go of its victim. A blast of energy pierces his body, and his scream is drowned out by an explosion of pain. That takes away almost all of his life force. At that very moment, the same dark energy strikes the sister, and her body goes limp, plunging into a saving oblivion. Overcoming hellish pain, he brings the antidote to her lips, pouring in a last hope for salvation. The poison leaves his body, but the price of salvation is too high. He is on the verge of death, and white flowers, a symbol of farewell, flash before his eyes. She comes to remembering nothing, and her innocent question about what happened sounds like a sentence for his fading life. She comes to and sees his lifeless body, and her eyes reflect only horror and incomprehension. Fragments of memories flash through her mind, her plea for help and his consent. And a terrible guess makes her heart stop. Realization hits her with a wild cry, and she falls crushed under the weight of a shameful delusion. In a fit of despair and self-hatred, she strikes him a blow that wounds her own soul. "You're an idiot, I hate you," she whispers, choking on tears, while he lies there unable to respond to her unfair accusations. Her gaze falls on the empty bottle, and an icy guess begins to break through the fog of anger. "I think I got all wrong." She whispers, the horror of what she's done reflected in her eyes. She looks at the cursed well, and the terrible truth is revealed to her. He descended into hell to save her. She reaches out to him, and under his torn clothes, she sees a terrible wound, the price for her healing. A tear rolls down her cheek, because now she knows he was hurt there in the depths of darkness, where he went for her brother. "I misunderstood you," she whispers, and bitter tears of remorse burn her cheeks. She puts him on her back, and now her only goal is to carry him to the set, where her grandfather can perform a miracle. "Please just hold on," she begs, pushing through the darkness, her words lost in the silence of the night. Suddenly they are noticed, and a whisper spreads across the square. The famous Nangong is dragging a simple player on her back. Envious glances follow her, but she notices nothing but his limp body on her shoulders. The crowd buzzes, recognizing him as the very same student. The master personally accepted, and gossip flies like sparks. The senior student's icy gaze pierces them, and there is undisguised hostility in his eyes. He opens his eyes under a strange, unfamiliar sky and only weakly exhales. Returning from oblivion, he comes to in an unfamiliar room, and his weakened consciousness is struck by an incredibly powerful aura emanating from the figure in the doorway. The heavenly elder stands before him, and he can hardly comprehend that he only survived thanks to the intervention of this powerful man. He barely standing on his feet, bows in boundless gratitude, swearing to remember this salvation forever. But the elder just brushes off his words, as if saving a life is an ordinary matter, not worthy of gratitude. And then a cold steel appears in his voice, where he calls his name and reveals the terrible truth. He is the grandfather of the one Lin saved. The world collapses before his eyes when he realizes who fate has brought him together with. Grasping this chance as if it were a straw, he again bows, deeply promising eternal devotion and gratitude. The elder interrupts him in a word, invalidating all his oaths, and Lin freezes in bewilderment. The next second, icy fingers of fear squeeze his throat as his grandfather utters a quiet but deadly warning, "Even if you are the best, I don't care." And this merciless look leaves no doubt that for any offense, he will face inevitable punishment. At that moment, she bursts in, and her voice, full of bitterness and reproach, makes the elder turn around. "You promised," she whispers with resentment, and her words hit harder than any blade, because we're talking about a broken word. The storm cloud gives way to a false thaw when Grandpa laughs, calls his threat just a joke. She asks about his wounds with tenderness and concern, and at that moment, no one exists for her acceptance. But behind a mask of good nature, He sees a deadly look promising a painful death for one wrong word, hiding his mortal fear behind a forced smile. He thanks her, and she tells him how she rescued him from the clutches of death. He looks at her with a tenderness that mixes gratitude and something more, and his heart melts, embarrassed by his passionate gaze. She tries to laugh it off, but the blush on her cheeks betrays her true feelings. Grandfather's angry cough, like a clap of thunder, instantly destroys the fragile idol. In a panic, he recoils from her, shouting the first thing that comes to mind, just to divert suspicion from himself. Actually, it's you I should be thanking. She whispers, her voice filled with genuine remorse and admiration for his courage. She admits her mistake and asks for forgiveness, calling him a true gentleman. And he cowers under the elder's murderous gaze. Every word she says is a nail in his coffin, and he mentally begs her to shut up before it's too late. But her strange, alluring look confuses him, promising something forbidden and dangerous. The sudden jump in favor to the level of love shocks him, and he cannot believe his eyes. A dangerous thought flashes through his head. One more step, and their relationship will move to a new, forbidden level. Grandfather's furious roar, full of fire and hatred, shakes the walls, destroying his secret fantasies. He awkwardly suggests finding some herbs for a cough, trying to diffuse the situation, but only adds fuel to the fire. The elder abruptly ends their conversation, coldly ordering him to follow him on the hunt and collect his reward. They find themselves in an amazing garden full of strange animals, and he cannot hide his admiration. Who should I choose, he thinks excitedly, and his eyes light up with anticipation of a glorious hunt. He tries to make a compliment, but his words come out as mockery, and he only clenches his fists tighter in anger at himself. His careless compliment wounds the old man's pride, and he explodes with rage, not tolerating even a shadow of doubt in his superiority. With disdain for the useless vanity of the sect, he declares that his strength lies not in quantity, but in quality, in the uniqueness of each beast. But he sows doubt by pointing out that among all this diversity, not a single truly strong creature can be seen. One careless word, and the old man starts shouting, accusing him of unheard of insolence and disrespect. Grabbing him by the collar, he drags him by force into the depths of the garden to prove his case and punish him for his insolence. He boasts about his collection, but there is a threat in his voice. There are animals for every taste, but a mistake in choosing will cost you your life. The grin on the old man's face says it all. Any one of these beasts could tear him to pieces. She laughs and reveals his secret. Grandpa is simply afraid that he will choose the strongest beast, and that is why he brags so much. The old man interrupts them, and his words sound like a sentence. Choose an animal and get out before I change my mind. She stands up for him, demanding a worthy reward for his feat. But her words only fuel the rage in the old man's heart. The girl grabs the boy's hand with a joyful smile, as if conveying an important message. Her eyes scream out, an insulting shock to the old man standing behind her. At the top of the cliff, a black beast lets out a proud howl, and someone's finger points at it with excitement, as if he had found a treasure. The moon monkey gleams ominously with strength and speed, as the girl excitedly explains its potential to her confused companion. Nearby, the young man's gaze suddenly fills with alarm. In front of him is something much more unexpected than an ordinary animal. A fluffy baby with a birthmark on his forehead purrs from the touching even an outside observer. The girl, like a child in a toy store, screams that she wants this touching little animal. The man in green robes frowns with displeasure, hugging the baby tightly as if protecting him from uninvited suitors. He states that the animal is still just a child, which means that it will remain under his care. With a determined look, the girl makes an argument, claiming that this spiritual beast is a perfect match for her brother. Persistent requests end in a conciliatory decision, and the tiny animal may find a new owner. The old man, in a green robe, is trying to take the animal away from his brother, screaming and waving his arms in desperate rage. She ardently defends her decision, reminding her grandfather of kindness with a wave of her hand. The girl urges her brother to tame the baby, and he, with timid determination, presses the animal to his chest. The brother gritted his teeth and bit into his finger to collect a drop of blood. For the ritual touch, a touch to the forehead ignited a spiritual connection, and the animal let out a piercing cry, feeling the flow of energy. She triumphantly proclaimed the completion of the ritual, and her grandfather rubbed his forehead in shock, not believing his eyes. The spirit beast rose majestically above the water, shrouded in purple radiance, and mockingly offered to become his brother's servant. Climbing onto a stone pedestal, he growled contemptuously and ordered the intruder to disappear. The brother opened his arms with a smile, and enticing promises of gastronomic travel around the world. The little animal, seething with pride, bit the blade with his teeth, and contemptuously doubted whether there was anything new for him. He tells of a secret bamboo kingdom, where the sweetest shoot grows, and the light around it promises miracles. The little animal twitches in panic, clutching a knife, as if what he heard had destroyed his entire little world. The master is inspired by the legend of the island. Fruit of immortality, which grants 100 years of life with one bite. The panda explodes with rage, unable to bear talk of food, because hunger is gnawing at him from within. The animal timidly asks to confirm the tree, and receives an oath that the owner's word is unbreakable. With a spark of excitement, he strikes his claw against his master's fist, cementing a new spiritual bond. Taming was successful, the inscription reads, and he purrs, accepting the role of companion. Smiling confidently, he promises care and rejoices over the outstanding stats of his pet. A sudden notification of a major update burns his thoughts. With memories of the previous beta test, Sister waves at him as he leaves with his new pet to practice in the set. Full of determination, he gently presses the animal to his chest, and his sister, with an anxious look, asks him not to rush to say goodbye. The silence is cut by the vibration of the phone, like a harbinger of something important. A message from my cousin appears on the screen, inviting me to dinner, and a slight tremor begins to fill my chest. Suddenly, the memory of her radiant face came over him, and he froze with the phone in his hand in surprise. The rain drums on the puddles as he frowns, realizing that there is only a formal family connection between them. My thoughts return to the pain of childhood, when my sister was teased for her braces. She rides under a hail of ridicule and cobblestones, enduring the verbal spitting of fierce boys. He bursts out of the shadows and crushes the offender with a powerful leg, cursing the moment when she was humiliated. His fist crashes into the leader's face with a thud, and the crowd retreats, cowering in horror. A menacing growl of threat collides with his impassive face as he stands up to defend his sister. She watched in helpless horror as the mob brutally beat the only person close to her. The name of her friend escaped her lips full of despair, but no one heard her cry from the heart. He suffered terrible pain, but never once regretted that he stood up for her. These cruel moments only strengthened their bond, making it unbreakable. The years passed. They separated, and only her calls saved him from loneliness. After the death of his parents, he had no idea that behind her care there was deep love, until he accidentally found her diary. In his past life, he made a fatal mistake by pushing away her love for another. But it was too late. The terrible news of her suicide hit him, leaving only emptiness and guilt. Now he realized that her alienation began on that very birthday, when he ignored her, but fate gave him a second chance. And this time he will not miss it, no matter what it cost him. He walked down the hospital corridor, not yet knowing that fate was preparing a meeting for him. That would change everything. A sudden cry of despair and the rumble of a gurney made him freeze, as someone's dying life was carried past. The woman he had once rejected cried over his dying father, and her pain pierced his heart. Seeing him, she clung to him as her last hope, begging him to save her only loved one. A power capable of cheating death flared in his hands, and he directed it at the dying man without hesitation. The old man, who was already in the next world, sighed convulsively, returning to life in defiance of all the laws of medicine. There was a silent question in the doctor's eyes. How did he do this when there was no more hope? Now that they had precious time, there was only one chance left. Immediate surgery. She looked at him with boundless gratitude, ready to give everything to save her father. But he only temporarily postponed death, because a mythical medicine was needed for a complete cure, which was almost impossible to obtain. Hope faded when she heard the terrible verdict of the doctors. Her father was terminally ill. In his arms, she found the only consolation in this cruel world. Full of pain and despair, he shared her grief, because only by becoming a god in the game could he save those dear to him. Waking up from her grief, she noticed with embarrassment that all his clothes were wet from her tears. His words were full of warmth. He advised her to appreciate every moment with her father, so as not to regret it later. She handed him an unlimited card and a business card, offering her help at any time and in any matter. He accepted her gift, realizing that in his hands was not just help, but a whole fortune. As she said goodbye, she gave him a mysterious smile, calling him a little miracle doctor. Her words touched him to the quick, because he considered himself anything but little, leaving behind a casual acquaintance. He set out in search of the one for whom he returned to the past. The sudden embrace burned him full of longing and desperate tenderness, making him forget about everything for a moment. There was recognition in his voice, and shock and embarrassment at her own boldness. In her eyes, her question about his wretched dwelling sounded like a sentence on his current life of despair. Behind her cheerful smile and joke about cheap housing lay the bitter truth about her own life. She LED him into her home, not realizing that she was letting into her life a man from a past full of regrets. Her concern pierced him with a feeling of guilt, because in his past life, He had no idea what she had sacrificed for him. She noticed his strange look and offered him a change of clothes, not understanding what kind of storm was raging in his soul. His awkward joy was just a mask, behind which hid an oppressive feeling of guilt towards her. Opening the closet, he froze in bewilderment. Where did Min's clothing come from in her apartment? Her explanation about a random purchase out of boredom sounded so innocent that for a moment, he believed the lie tears of gratitude flowed down his cheeks. In her gift, he saw all the love that he so lacked. She was waiting for him with dinner, and in her simple invitation, there was so much warmth and care that he had not seen in many years. All his favorite dishes were on the table. She remembered everything down to the last detail, keeping him in her heart. Her concern for his money was only a pretext to give away her last. Hiding her own need, he refused her help. But she did not believe that he could have money, because he was just a student. The transfer of a huge sum left her in shock and horror. Could it be that he had gotten involved with the criminal world? He ate calmly, explaining that he had earned everything in the game, as if it were the most ordinary job. She had heard rumors about making money in the game, but she couldn't believe it was true until she saw the amount in her account. Now, it was his turn to take care of her, but her pride did not allow her to accept this help. His words were full of resentment. Why was she pushing away his care? As if he were a stranger, she finally allowed him to take care of her, accepting his help without further ado. His impudent proposal took her by surprise, but in his heart he himself did not believe that he dared to say it. Her smile was full of tenderness, but behind it there was a firm determination to give him her only bed. She forced him into bed, not accepting any objections and making his heart beat faster. Sleep didn't come because in the next room, on the uncomfortable sofa, slept the one for whom he was ready to do anything. Her scent lingering on the pillow drove him crazy, awakening long-forgotten feelings. He saw her sleeping on the sofa, and his heart sank with tenderness and guilt. Her sleepy voice made him start. He didn't expect that she would be awake and hear him. In the silence of the night, an awkward silence hung between them, full of unsaid things and secret desires. Her words were full of despair. She was ready to do anything just so that he would. Not offer to support her, his words were not just a request, but a desperate attempt to keep her close. Because he could no longer bear the separation. His sudden boldness caught her by surprise, making her heart beat faster with a frightening and at the same time sweet guess. He invited her to enter his world, a game where he could protect her and give her everything she deserved. His words kept running through her head, and the thought of quitting no longer seemed as crazy as it had before. The sudden explosion of a firecracker pulled her out of her reverie, plunging her into a whirlwind of bewilderment and celebration. The attention of the obsessive suitor was unpleasant for her, but she could not ruin the holiday for her colleagues. Behind her polite smile and gratitude, there was only a desire to get rid of his company as soon as possible. His smug declaration of love sounded like a threat, sending a chill down her spine. In his dirty thoughts, she was just a trophy that he was going to win at any cost. At the most tense moment, her savior, appeared, with a gift that was more precious than all the roses in the world. His gift was not just car keys, but a challenge thrown in the face of his opponent. The opponent's eyes were filled with bewilderment. He couldn't even imagine that a poor student would turn out to be the owner of a Ferrari. Their handshake was like a bet with more at stake than just money. There was a silent challenge in his gaze. He saw right through his opponent and was ready for any move he made. The luxurious Ferrari, sparkling in the sun, became a silent testimony to his success and wealth, astonishing everyone around him. Envious glances followed him, because no one could believe that such luxury belonged to an ordinary guy. The rival could not come to terms with his triumph, desperately looking for a catch in his sudden wealth. His generous offer to pay for the taxi was just a clever ploy to get alone with her. His colleagues naively rejoiced at his generosity, not suspecting that they had become pawns in someone else's game. With one snap of his fingers, he destroyed his opponent's plans, showing who was the real master of the situation. He ordered a whole bus for his colleagues, leaving his rival completely bewildered and angry. He thoughtlessly sent everyone away on the bus, so he could be alone with her and enjoy the moment. In his past life, he ignored her birthday, but in this life, he gave her a Ferrari. Leaving her in shock, her heart was breaking with delight and anxiety. Such an expensive gift was something unthinkable for her. His proposal was not just a joke, but a vow he trusted her not only with his money, but with his whole life. The most luxurious restaurant in the city awaited them, where every moment was to be unforgettable. Meeting his rival in the same restaurant was no accident. He had prepared a new humiliating surprise for him. The rival could not hide his contempt, considering him a country bumpkin who had accidentally found himself in high society. His question about the room on the top floor came as a bolt from the blue, since this place was accessible only to a select few. The rival's face was distorted by a grimace of horror and envy. He realized that his pathetic plans had suffered a crushing fiasco. In his sick imagination, she was just a prize that he would get at any cost. and write off all expenses as compensation. Her forced smile hid her anxiety, because a luxurious dinner in the company of a person she didn't like was real torture. The sense of duty weighed on her, but she was determined that she would find a way to return the money and would never be indebted to him again. His flattering speeches were only a cover, behind which lay cold hatred and contempt for his rival. He struck him straight in the forehead, trying to catch him in a lie. But a simple answer about a gift for his sister only made him even more angry. He accepted the challenge, deciding to play along with his opponent. In his pathetic attempt to humiliate him in front of everyone, the opponent was triumphant, deciding that he had figured out his secret. He was just throwing dust in the eyes to make an impression. Confident of his victory, he demanded more wine to celebrate the humiliation of his enemy. The appearance of the waitress with expensive wine was part of his plan, the final touch in the picture of his rival's humiliation. This wine was not just a treat from the establishment, but a symbol of his superiority and wealth, which his rival could only dream of. He raised his glass to her health, but in reality, it was a toast to his own victory. One look at the wine, and he knew there was poison in the glass that wasn't meant for him. He casually lied about the rental car, throwing bait at his opponent that he couldn't help but take. His request to take care of his sister was just the final touch in the cruel spectacle he himself had staged at last. The fox showed his tail, and the fire of revenge he had been waiting for so long flared up in his eyes. A toast to health was the last thing they uttered before falling into a deep sleep, engineered by their enemy. Everyone was asleep, poisoned by the wine, and only he, the hero of the occasion, remained standing watching his victory. Finally, he waited for this day when she, defenseless and sleeping, found herself in his complete power. His touch was sticky and disgusting, but she couldn't resist, immersed in a waking nightmare. He carried her into his room, not hearing her weak protests, confident in his impunity and strength. Her scream of horror echoed throughout the room, but no one could come to her aid. He demanded retribution for his generosity by humiliating her and enjoying her helplessness. The camera flash mercilessly captured her shame, which he was going to use for blackmail. His dirty promises of the future broke her will, plunging her into the abyss of despair and hopelessness. A sudden kick smashed the door into splinters, and her savior burst into the room full of rage. His face was distorted with horror and bewilderment. He could not even imagine that his plans would be destroyed. One blow sent him flying, and at that moment, he realized that his miserable life was hanging by a thread. The noise of the struggle attracted attention, but no one dared to enter, fearing to face the fury of the Avenger. The servants' eyes were frozen in silent horror. They could not even imagine what was happening behind closed doors. His fist crashed down on his enemy again and again, each blow a price for his sister's tears and humiliation. His cry of agony was the last thing he uttered before justice was meted out. He dragged the defeated villain to the shocked staff, demanding help to gather evidence of his crime. Rumors of poison and betrayal spread throughout the hall, leaving the staff shocked and bewildered. He held the phone like a weapon, and the recording on it became irrefutable evidence of his guilt. All his arrogance was gone, and now he was pathetic and broken, begging for mercy on his knees. He left defeated and humiliated, leaving behind only a shadow of his former greatness. She slept not knowing that the nightmare was over, and her peace was now under reliable protection. He gently lifted her into his arms, and at that moment, she finally felt safe. His warm smile and words of gratitude were more precious than all the treasures in the world, because now he could take care of her. Returning home, he sighed with relief. The most terrible day in his past life became the day of his triumph. In the present, every farewell to her left a mark on his heart, but he knew that he had to walk this path alone. He left, leaving her in this world full of dangers, but her care warmed his soul. Her promise to come was the only thing that gave him the strength to move on. He didn't want to leave her, but duty called him into the world of the game, where not only his life, but also hers was at stake. In the game world, he was a god, and only there could he gain the power to protect her. In the real world, the virtual reality helmet became a gateway to another world for him, where he could change his destiny. In the game, he was not just a man, but a powerful warrior whose strength grew with every second. The game update gave him incredible power, which became the key to his future victories. He had forgotten about the treasures he had received for taming his pet, but now they were more useful than ever. His new abilities opened up endless possibilities for him, and he was ready to use them all. The cherry tree umbrella is a priceless artifact that can save his comrades from death in the most desperate moment. The bloodbath squeak is a deadly technique that sends enemies fleeing and wreaks havoc among their ranks. The bones of the buried sand. All this was only the beginning of his path to incredible power. He chose the most difficult path, building the foundation of the heavenly path, because this is the only way to achieve true greatness. But this path required not only strength of spirit, but also rare treasures which were almost impossible to find. He had to find 6 elemental spiritual beads scattered throughout the world to complete what he had started. Time was running out, and while his faithful little animal was sleeping, he was already making plans to collect the necessary resources. But his lazy companion had no intention of waking up, not suspecting what great things awaited them. The animal's pathetic excuses about hunger and fatigue could not deceive him because he knew him better than anyone. He reminded the glutton of his promise, because every second counted on their dangerous journey. His feigned disbelief was the last straw that broke the camel's back. He had no idea that his jokes could cost him the loyalty of his only friend. The sudden realization of his mistake struck him like lightning, leaving him cold with horror. He realized what lay behind this loyalty scale. Not just numbers, but the risk of betrayal and rebellion. In a panic, he tried to make amends for his guilt, because he was afraid of losing him more than anything in the world. Hearing about food, his offended pet immediately forgot about his pride and hurried to the kitchen. New dungeons beckoned him with their treasures, because only there could he find true power. Nightmare Dungeon for solo players and Ghost Ridge Cave for a team. The choice was obvious. The Valley of the Corpse King is the most dangerous of the dungeons, hiding incredible power and deadly traps. His goal is to clear the nightmare alone, because this is the only way he can become stronger and protect those dear to him. This dungeon was the only place where he could get the materials he needed, and he went there not knowing that they were already waiting for him. Those who considered themselves the masters of this place stood in his way, and their views did not bode well. But their pathetic threats only made him feel bored and irritated. He had seen people like them hundreds of times. The challenge sounded like thunder, and now he could not retreat without losing his honor. The ancient rules of the sword sect, unbreakable and fair, stood between them, determining the outcome of the duel. He was confident of his victory because the rules were on his side, but he did not take one thing into account. His opponent was not so simple. These rules were created so that the strongest could become even stronger, honing their skills in endless duels. His sly smile and offer of a reward for victory caught his opponent off guard. He happily agreed to the bet, not suspecting that it was a trap that would lead him to complete ruin. 0 contribution points to the sect was not just a disgrace, but a death sentence because losing meant expulsion. His opponent flew towards him, confident of his victory, but did not know that inevitable collapse awaited him. The girl who suddenly appeared put a fortune on the line, shocking everyone with her courage and faith in him. They were ready to give their last to humiliate him, not suspecting that their pitiful savings were nothing compared to his strength. He threw accusations of arrogance in his face, but in reality his words were only based on fear of inevitable defeat. Their duel was to take place on the sacred land of the sect, where every stone had witnessed hundreds of similar battles. His victory was so quick and crushing that no one even had time to understand what had happened. Rumors of his incredible strength spread throughout the sect as he, at a low level of cultivation, won 8 times in a row now. Everyone knew his name, and in everyone's eyes, he was not just a student, but a real monster whose power defied explanation. The head of the branch saw in him not just talent, but a rare gift that could bring glory to the entire sect. It was an offer he couldn't refuse, and he accepted it with gratitude, for it was his first step towards true greatness. Her sudden appearance and joyful cry made everyone freeze in bewilderment. She came to support her adopted brother, and there was so much warmth in her smile that he forgot about everything for a moment. Her father misinterpreted her words, decided that she had come for his new student, whom he considered a genius. He bowed awkwardly to her, unsure how to react to her sudden appearance and attention. She pointed at him, calling him her little brother. And in that moment, the world for her father and his student collapsed. The new student's icy gaze pierced him through and through, full of undisguised hatred and jealousy. The father couldn't believe that his daughter had traded a genius for this worthless guy, in his opinion. The new student challenged him, determined to prove his superiority and humiliate his opponent. He casually refused because in his past life, this guy was the best swordmaster, and he didn't want to humiliate him again. But it was too late to retreat. He had already accepted the challenge, and now not only his honor, but also his fate was at stake. His decision was madness. To fight someone much stronger when he could have simply refused. He had deliberately hidden the saving rule from him in order to enjoy his humiliation. But now everything could fall apart. He knew about the rule, but he accepted the challenge with a smile, because for him, it was not a duel, but a way to get rich at the expense of a self-confident fool. The arrogance of this youth irritated him. He did not understand what his daughter saw in this commoner, but her faith in him was unshakable, and her encouraging smile gave him strength. He allowed his opponent to strike first, giving him the illusion of superiority before inevitable defeat. His self-confidence knew no bounds. He did not even suspect that he was on the threshold of his greatest humiliation. The first blow was struck with fury and contempt, but it was only a pitiful shadow of true strength. In one movement, he parried the blow and found himself behind the enemy, plunging him into shock and horror. A fire flashed in his eyes, and at that moment, everyone realized that the fight was over before it had even begun. One blow and the first blood was spilled. But that was only the beginning of his crushing defeat. He soared into the air like a bird of prey, leaving the enemy no chance of escape. There was rage in his eyes. He couldn't believe that a great warrior, was being defeated so easily by some newbie. The clash of blades echoed throughout the arena. But in this dance of death, there was only one winner. Every blow he struck was deadly, and the crowd stood frozen in horror as they watched the brutal and fast-paced duel. He fell to the ground defeated and humiliated, his pride trampled into dust. Victory was his, and his name echoed throughout the set. Becoming a new legend, her eyes sparkled with pride, and her father couldn't believe that this nondescript guy had exceeded all his expectations. He turned away, unable to admit his defeat, and the genius of the one he considered a non-entity. And somewhere far away in the crowd, a mysterious stranger watched his triumph with a smile, because she knew what he was capable of. She always knew he wasn't a cheater, and now the whole world saw his true strength. For her, he was not just a winner, but a true deity, the most beautiful in all 8 wastelands. He couldn't believe his eyes. The illusory heartbeat that had struck fear into the entire set was broken with one movement. Today, he admitted his defeat, but the fire of future revenge was already burning in his eyes. His vow sounded like a challenge to fate itself. He would surpass it no matter what the cost. In his past life, he was number 1, but now someone had appeared who could challenge his title of the best in the world. Her praise was the best reward for him, because everything he did for her. Her displeased look was more painful to him than any blow, because he did not want to be a burden to her. His words were full of tenderness, because one day he would become so strong that he would be able to protect her from the whole world. She realized that cultivation levels were not important when you truly loved, and she was ready to follow him to the ends of the earth. His timid question about her free time was the first step towards what he had long dreamed of. She happily agreed, not yet knowing that this was not just a request for help, but something more. His invitation to a date full of romance and tenderness took her by surprise. Joy and fear fought in her soul. Her father would never approve of her meeting with him. His trick worked, and she, succumbing to his persuasion, agreed to this little lie. Her heart sank in anticipation, because now their secret meeting was only a matter of time. He walked full of anticipation and happiness, because the dream of his past and present life was about to come true. But his dreams were not destined to come true so soon. Those who urgently needed his strength stood in his way. Their flattery made no impression on him, for all his thoughts were occupied with only one thing. He refused without thinking, because no treasure in the world could compare with the promised date. Her despair was so great that she was ready to give everything, just so that he would agree to this suicidal mission. She hung on his every word, hoping for a miracle, but his demands were impossible to fulfill. His refusal was polite but firm. He would not lead her people to certain death until they were stronger. But she did not give up and suggested another way, more dangerous, but the only possible one. His eyes lit up. This wasn't just a new plan, but a chance worth seizing. Hope lit up her eyes, and she was ready to accept any conditions if only he would agree. He asked just one question on which everything depended, and in her answer, he was looking for something more than just agreement. She didn't hesitate for a second, because her participation was not just a condition, but the key to their common victory. His sly smile and agreement were part of a plan that only the one for whom he was ready to do anything knew about. Her warning was not a threat, but a desperate attempt to protect him from her father's wrath. His arrogance was boundless. He didn't even suspect that her father could become his mortal enemy. But the past caught up with him at the most inopportune moment, when the one he least wanted to see appeared on the threshold. The offer was generous, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it was another trap. He did not immediately recognize in him the one who had deceived him in his past life. And at that moment, he realized that he had gotten into a mess. His appearance came as a bolt from the blue, and now he urgently needed an excuse to avoid unwanted company. In desperation, he grabbed her, using her as a human shield and cover for his lies. Her shock was his only salvation, because now she was an unwitting accomplice in his deception. She didn't know what to say, because his lie was so brazen that it was almost believable. Pieces of the past came back to him, and he realized that this girl was not who she claimed to be. At that moment, he realized his fatal mistake. He had completely forgotten how closely their destinies had been intertwined in their past life. His words were full of venom and contempt, He mocked the defeated enemy, reveling in his imaginary victory. But he didn't know who he was dealing with. The fire of hatred burned in the eyes of the defeated enemy, and he swore revenge. They raced through the night forest, and every step carried them away from danger towards the unknown. At that moment, he realized that he owed her his life, and his gratitude was boundless. Her modesty only emphasized her nobility because for her, his salvation was more important than any gratitude. The Night Canyon of Ghosts lured players from all over the world, promising untold treasures and deadly dangers. The more players there were, the more confusing the game became, and he realized that he couldn't cope alone. They came faithful and devoted, ready to follow their leader to the ends of the earth. A whole squad of beautiful warriors was waiting for him, and in their eyes he saw not just admiration, but readiness for battle. She greeted him with respect, but her voice sounded not only of gratitude, but also of a plea for help. The guy sets 3 conditions, without which he does not agree to go into the dungeon. First, the girl unconditionally hands over command of the detachment to him. Second, all the equipment for cultivating the sword goes to him. The third condition turned out to be unexpected. He asked for a loan of spiritual stones. The girl is confused, because spiritual stones are a strategic resource for the guild. The guy offers a deal. He will return 130% of the borrowed amount within 5 days. After some thought, she agrees to lend him 50,000. The money has been received, and now the guy is ready for the hike. He announces to the team that they will return in 5 days. And now forward into the dungeon. His squad includes the tank Lee and the healer. She both experienced warriors. The girls are horrified. The guy brought them to a dungeon of hellish difficulty level. They doubt his decision, fearing that he has made a fatal mistake. But he only smiles, assuring that caution and wheel tactics are enough for clean. The squad follows him deep into the eerie forest, strewn with the bones of previous daredevils. The guy's inner voice reveals his true motives. He is not here for the first time and is only pretending. One of the girls tries to hide her fear, assuring her friend that it's all just a set. Suddenly, she's interrupted by a chilling warning. Someone's hand is under her foot. She jumps back in panic when she sees a dead man's bony hand reaching out from the ground. The guy rolls his eyes in irritation, tired of their panic, and his companion quietly chuckles. But laughter quickly turns to horror. Something awaits them ahead that can frighten even the most cold-blooded. A creepy cemetery guard emerges from the fog, instilling horror with his mere appearance. The girls scream in panic, unable to bear the sight of this monster. The monster hovers in the air, telling them to get out if they don't want to die. He declares himself the only one who can survive in this cursed place, while the girls tremble with fear. Their leader urges them to remain calm, but the guy demonstratively ignores the monster's threats, leading the squad behind him. Suddenly the guard stops him, changing tactics and asking for a favor. The guy just smirks. He knew from the start that the longer he ignored the guard, the faster he would offer a task. The watchman reveals his tragic story. He is looking for the belongings of his wife, who was killed here 20 years ago. He asks them to find a white handkerchief, promising 2 mysterious and powerful artifacts in return. The guy easily accepts the task, because he knows that exchanging a scarf for 2 mysterious items is incredible luck. The party sets off towards the foot of the mountain, leaving behind a lone guard who waits hopefully for their return. As soon as they set foot on the path, they are surrounded by a whirlwind of screaming skulls, the souls of those who died in this cursed place. The girls freeze in horror as dozens of ghosts emerge from the darkness, their eyes burning with hatred. The squad leader, all in flames, calls on everyone to defend themselves, because the hellish level of difficulty does not forgive mistakes. Tank fearlessly rushes into battle, her body a deadly hurricane that tears ghosts apart. The boy enters the battle, releasing a stream of azure energy that easily cuts through the horde. After the fight, the girls look at him in amazement. He found 3 spiritual stones, which speaks of his incredible luck. When asked about his level of luck, he only smiles, mysteriously answering that it is a secret. But it's too early to relax. A giant bone monster rises from underground, and one of the girls screams in horror. Warning of danger, the guy fearlessly rushes at the bone monster, preparing for the decisive blow. With one powerful swing of his sword, he cuts down the monster, releasing a stream of pure energy. The monster drops the same scarf, and the girl rejoices. Now they have 2 mysterious artifacts in their pockets. He immediately cuts short their joy, explaining that easy equipment farming is a myth, and there are no bugs here. Picking up the handkerchief, he calls on everyone to hurry because the main tests are still ahead. Suddenly, the entire squad freezes, their eyes fixed on something ahead that makes their blood run cold. In the distance, a hanged woman hangs from a tree, and her ominous whispers spread throughout the forest, welcoming new guests. Her face is a mask of horror with empty eye sockets, and from her throat comes a silent, chilling scream before they could come to their senses. The girls felt the bony hands of the dead, grabbing them from under the ground. Rage overwhelms the guy. He will not allow restless souls to commit atrocities, even if it means destroying them all. The boy charges at the ghostly woman in a rage, his sword flashing with azure energy. As it slices through her skeletal arms, he delivers a powerful blow, putting all his strength into it. But his attack passes through her without causing any harm. The ghost dodges with ease, and his deadly blow goes into the void, leaving only a trail of destruction. She appears behind him, her gaze full of admiration and eerie obsession. She is enchanted by his beauty. Suddenly, she takes possession of him, offering to become a pair of ghostly spouses with her daughter. She tempts him with power, promising fast cultivation. But he senses a catch. He angrily rejects her proposal. She doesn't back down, her grip tightening and her eyes filling with cold fury at his refusal. Her face contorts with anger, and she sentences him to death for his disobedience. She flies into the air, declaring that she will take his soul by force, even if he does not want it. The guy finds himself trapped. Sharp thorns grow from the ground, but he does not lose his composure. He begins a deadly dance, dodging attacks and cutting through the ghost's scarlet energy with his sword. At a critical moment, he takes command, giving clear orders to his squad. The guild leader obeys without hesitation, her staff glowing brightly, ready for battle. Su Wanling, armed with a sword, was ready to assist him in the attack, her gaze full of determination. Li takes incoming attacks, protecting the team with his strength. The healer, although frightened, confirms her readiness to support and heal. At his command, the squad rushes to attack, and the healer creates a shield of the sun and moon for protection. They strike in a coordinated manner, unleashing all their might on the ghostly woman, but she easily withstands their onslaught. Her strength only grows, and her gaze is full of contempt. Su Wanling strikes, distracting the ghostly woman and giving the boy a chance to attack. He concentrates all his strength into his sword, his face hidden in shadow, but his determination is clear. She tries to defend herself in horror, realizing that his next attack will be fatal. Their attacks merge into a single deadly dance, his azure blade and her pink swirl. With one precise and merciless blow, he cuts her in half, ending her suffering. The girls are jubilant, their faces shining with relief and joy after a hard battle. When an enemy is defeated, they drop an incredible amount of rare equipment, and everyone knows it's a jackpot. The guild leader offers him to choose first. Recognizing his merit and right as a leader, he happily accepts the offer and takes the 2 items intended for sword cultivation. Having equipped himself, he again calls on the squad to follow him, because their journey is not yet over. The girl notices a guard in the distance and enthusiastically offers to give him the scarf. Unaware of the danger, the guy suddenly grabs her hand, stopping her one step before making a fatal mistake. He coldly warns her that going there now would mean certain death, and she freezes in bewilderment. Suddenly, the guild leader has a terrible idea. The guard is the boss of this dungeon. The guy lightly flicks the girl on the forehead, smiling that although she is not a genius, she figured out the guild leader is shocked. She can't believe how the boss could give them a task, because it violates all logic. He reveals the main trap of this dungeon, a tricky quest that lures players to their death, depriving them of valuable rewards. She looks at him with gratitude, realizing that without him, they would have lost not only the awards, but their lives in the distance. The ominous laughter of the guard is heard, who realizes that his deception has been exposed. The squad approaches him, and he, throwing aside all propriety, demands the return of his late wife's things. The guard repeats his false promise, offering 2 mysterious objects in exchange for the handkerchief. The guy sees in this deception a reflection of betrayal from the past, which cost him his life. He is no longer willing to tolerate these lies, and without hesitation, rushes to attack the boss. The flame of revenge burns in his eyes. In a past life, he was deceived by the same person. But this time, there will be no mistake. The watchman, casting off his mask, begins his terrifying transformation under the blood moon, his body contorted by dark energy. In the name of the ghostly king, he sentences them to death, revealing his true demonic nature. The girls freeze in horror, unable to believe what the old watchman has become. He unleashes his fury on them, and the boy is forced to hold off a flock of night ravens alone. He shouts at the healer to use her abilities and disperse the cursed pack. She responds to the call without hesitation, preparing to use her power to protect the squad. He makes a bold decision to fight the boss alone, while his team deals with the crows. Without wasting a second, he rushes at the enemy, his sword ready to deliver a crushing blow. He grins because he knows the main weakness of all magicians, a panic fear of close combat. His attack is a whirlwind of steel and energy that deals critical hits and forces the boss to retreat. The monster roars in rage and pain. Its stats are visible to everyone, but is still too strong. The boss uses his technique, Misty Body trying to dodge the deadly attack. The boy calls his squad to a decisive blow, uniting their forces for the final attack. He concentrates all his energy into the sword, preparing to release it in one devastating blast. The guild master puts all his power into the immortal spear, creating a golden vortex of energy. Lee delivers a devastating punch, her attack imbued with purple energy that can crush any defense. Su Wanling, consumed by the flames of rage, slashes her fiery blade at the enemy. The squad's attacks merge into a single deadly whirlwind, mercilessly tearing the boss's body apart. The boy raises his sword to the sky, calling forth thousands of golden blades for a final crushing blow. The boss looks up in horror, realizing that he can't escape this attack. Heavenly punishment falls upon him, depriving him of his last hope. But the guy is in no hurry to deliver the final blow. He takes out his pet, a cute panda, and hands over to her the right to finish the fight. He throws 3 giant balls, promising the panda a bamboo treat for a quick win. The girls look at the cute panda with delight, not believing that this is the legendary pet. The panda lets out a deafening roar, releasing a powerful sound wave that shakes everything around. She turns into a deadly ball and crashes into the boss at great speed, sending him into a final flight. The panda lands gracefully. Her mission accomplished, the boss defeated. The girls enthusiastically surround the cute pet, vying with each other to cuddle him. The guy covers his face in embarrassment, not expecting such a violent reaction to his formidable comrade in arms. He is in for a bitter disappointment. All the loot from the boss is intended for the mage, and there is nothing useful for him. He takes only the black obsidian crystal, the key to his future power and heavenly path. The system congratulates them on their completion, generously showering them with rewards for record time. On the hellish level, the girl thanks him for his help, but he offers to buy the equipment so that she doesn't end up at a loss. He refuses the money, giving all the loot to her as promised, keeping only the mysterious crystal for himself. Having achieved his goal, he says goodbye to the squad, leaving them slightly bewildered. He urges them on because soon crowds of players will gather here, eager to learn the secrets of the passage. The girls look after him with regret, not having had time to thank him, but hoping for a new meeting. As soon as he leaves the dungeon, he immediately contacts his old friend. A mischievous glint lights up in his eyes. It's time to fool his friend again. His friend on the other end is in shock. He never expected a call, and it was broadcast live. Their conversation takes us to a bustling city, where the next act of this drama will unfold. Having met in person, the guy asks his friend for forgiveness for dragging him into his affairs. But he just waves it off, assuring that he became a good matchmaker and helped him meet a new love. The guy feels guilty that he couldn't help his friend, but his friend only reminds him that the most important thing for him is to find a wife or friend. Taking advantage of the opportunity, asks him to help the guild one more time, since he went into the dungeon so successfully. The guy's face darkens. He senses a catch in this seemingly innocent request. The guy pretends to sigh as he explains to his friend that his new girlfriend is forbidding him from help because of the feud between their guilds. His friend is furious, as he remembers how this scheming girl used him to oppose him. But the guy offers a way out. He can't help personally, but is ready to sell instructions on how to complete the dungeon. With a disarming smile, he names a ridiculous price. Only 8,000 spiritual stones. His friend, stunned by such generosity, immediately agrees and transfers the money, completely trusting him instead of quickly transferring the data. The guy takes a brush and begins to carefully write the instructions on the scroll. He explains this by his paranoia, assuring that the more primitive the method, the better the secrecy of the information is preserved. The friend, impressed by such caution, gratefully accepts the scroll, unaware of the catch in anticipation of an easy victory. He leaves to gather people to conquer the hellish level of the dungeon. The guy sees him off with a sinister grin, because he knows that this plan is a death trap. Under cover of night, a guy comes to a mysterious shop for a rare and dangerous medicine. His goal is to buy up all the medicine for cadaver poison that is available. He recklessly demands the entire supply, not caring about the price, which surprises the hostess. The shop owner, smiling slyly, warns that such medicine costs a fortune. Money is not a problem for him. He is ready to pay any price to get what he wants. Impressed by his wealth, she begins to flirt with him, admiring his ability to earn money. Suddenly, she makes him an unexpected offer to become her business and not only partner. She promises him everything, both the store and herself, if he agrees to her bold proposal. He is shocked to realize that he may have unlocked a hidden romantic scenario that he never even knew about. Embarrassed, he politely declines, dashing her hopes and leaving her with a disappointed sigh. He desperately tries to push away the tempting thoughts, reminding himself of his true goal. To become the strongest, his determination flares up with renewed vigor. He is a swordsman, and nothing will deter him from his chosen path. The hostess, not losing hope, takes him away for medicine, Her touch is the last temptation. He looks after her with embarrassment, belatedly realizing that perhaps he had been too rude. She says goodbye to him coquettishly, inviting him to come again, and he, unable to hide his embarrassment, hastily agrees, left alone. He reveals his grand plan. He bought 200,000 bottles of medicine in order to make a fortune. He knows something that others don't. This medicine is the key to passing the Corpse King's Gorge. Without it, anyone who goes there is doomed to certain death. And then he can sell the antidote at an exorbitant price. But before he can begin his plan, he needs to gather 6 energies and find materials for his skills. His path lies in the lands of rising flames, a place with the highest concentration of fiery energy, where every step takes away vitality. The mutant firebug charges forward, its claws ready to rip anyone apart. But the boy meets him with a barrage of azure blades, his movements fast and deadly. Having received a rebuff, the monster runs away cowardly, emitting a pitiful squeak that does not at all match its menacing appearance. The guy gives chase in a rage. He won't let this creature get away so easily. With one precise and merciless blow, he catches up with the fugitive, piercing him with his sword. A defeated enemy drops a modest reward: 2 spiritual stones and a shard of the spirit of fire. He is disappointed the purity of the shard is too low, but decides to take it, hoping to sell it in the future. To find a fire spirit of high purity, he will have to go deep into these dangerous lands. He loudly challenges the local ferret to a fight, declaring that it is time for him to die. From a fiery whirlwind emerges a beautiful and deadly 9-tailed fox, ready to take up his challenge. The fox was furious. How dare he call her a powerful spirit, a despicable ferret, but he only grins insolently, continuing to mock her pride and provoke her into a fight. Enraged, she unleashes the full force of her fiery tails on him, leaving him no chance. He dodges with ease, dancing between the deadly streams of flame. His speed amazes her, but it only makes her anger grow stronger. He reproaches her for ingratitude, because his insult was almost a compliment. Patience snapped, he rushes into the attack, intending to punish her for her insolence. She doesn't give in, her claws flashing like fire. Ready to tear him apart, her attack is a whirlwind of fiery sickles, but he easily deflects them with his sword. She changes tactics, launching fiery discs at him, and he, unable to dodge, flies back. He knocks the fox out, and she falls helplessly into the abyss. Her fate sealed, defeated, she turns into a small, defenseless fox, losing all her strength and pride. He offers the fox cub as dinner to his panda, reminding her that she is omnivorous and has not eaten meat for a long time. At his command, the cute panda turns into a predatory beast and pounces on a defenseless victim. Foxy whines in terror as she finds herself face to face with a giant, laughing killer panda after a hearty meal. The panda hiccups contentedly. Her belly is full to capacity, and all that remains of the fox is the spirit of fire. The panda is unhappy she hasn't eaten meat for so long, that it wasn't enough to satisfy her completely. The guy finally gets what he came for: a 100% pure fire spirit, one of the 6 basic elements from the spirit of fire. He creates a new superior technique, the fire fist, and his power increases again. Having achieved his goal, he leaves the game and receives a call that could change everything. An unexpected call comes in. His girlfriend, the boss of the gym, Rinlan, says that her vacation has started and she is coming to visit him. He sees this as a great opportunity not only to take his girlfriend, but also to persuade her to create a training plan for him. Driven by a desperate goal, he exhausts himself with training, because he needs to raise his physical level within 5 years. In his reflection, he sees not himself, but the future. He must prevent a world consumed by war. He walks down the stairs of his house, realizing that his carefree, peaceful life is over forever. His girlfriend is already waiting for him outside with a huge suitcase, impatiently anticipating a new gaming session. He is surprised by her speed, but she just waves it off, explaining that her university is very close. She coquettishly throws her luggage on him and runs into the house. Screaming, he looks at the huge suitcase in bewilderment, not understanding what awaits him. She easily deceived her parents by saying that she was going on a trip with a friend who covered for her. He looks at her with concern, realizing that if her parents find out about this, he will be in serious trouble. She eagerly asks him to tell her how to play, and he sighs and explains the first steps, confirming a name and choosing a class. She enters the character creation menu, where she must choose not only the appearance, but also the very essence of her avatar. Having created her character, she sets off on her first flight, feeling the intoxicating freedom of the virtual world. Suddenly, a divine being appears before her, who promises to become her guide on the path to immortality. She is delighted to meet the legendary goddess Nua, who bestows her blessings on her. The next moment, the system announces that she has received an innate talent. The goddess opens the scroll of fate before her, offering her to choose the place of her birth. In this new world, she is at a loss. Her future path and destiny depend on this choice. But he comes to the rescue, giving her valuable advice on choosing a prefecture. Depending on her class, she flirts with him, admiring his outfit and looking curiously at his profile. Her natural talent is immovable, Light King perfect for a tank, giving her incredible defensive bonuses. He is shocked by her incredible luck, because such talent is a real jackpot for any tank. Realizing her fate, she announces with a predatory smile that from now on, she's a tank. He remembers that in his past life, only 2 people had this talent, and both were at the top of the rankings. This girl has great potential. He stops her from doing boring tasks and suggests going to the city to get money and equipment. They arrive in a bustling city, where merchants compete to praise their wares, trying to entice buyers nearby. 2 players are in despair. They can't find a cure for the corpse poison, believing it to be a game bug. Overhearing their conversation, he intervenes and offers them what they have been looking for so long, a scarce cure for cadaver poison. The news spreads throughout the city, and a crowd of players, eager to get their hands on the cure, rushes towards it, creating a stir while he was successfully selling off his stock. His new companion watched with admiration as her clever friend pulled off yet another scam. Suddenly, a commanding female voice pierces the crowd, calling his full name, and everyone turns to look at the stranger. A dazzling blonde emerges from the crowd with a predatory smile, confirming that she was not mistaken. While onlookers in shock wonder who she is, she admits that she saw his name in the rankings and couldn't believe that a jerk like him could be so good at the game. His face darkens as he realizes her true motive. She wants to trick him into giving her free medicine and then use it for her own purposes. But she changes tactics and with a seductive smile, reproaches him for not having visited her for a long time. This scene causes a heated discussion in the crowd. Everyone takes them for a couple in love, into whose squabble they accidentally got involved. His companion angrily tugs at his sleeve, reminding him that this bitch kissed another man, and asks him to be gentler. The blonde grabs his hand. Her gaze turns cold, and she demands an explanation as to why he is with another woman. She looks him straight in the eyes, asking with pain in her voice how he could forget his promise that there is a place in his heart. Only for her suddenly, his companion takes matters into her own hands, declaring him her boyfriend and ordering the blonde to stay away. A conflict breaks out between the girls. One is not afraid of threats, and the other reminds them of her status and demands that they watch their behavior. The blonde turns to him in despair, but in response, receives only an icy grin and a question as to whether she herself doesn't have an idea. He reveals with pleasure the reason for his betrayal. He knows about her flirting with another man, about the lollipops that she shared right behind his back. She tries to justify herself, her face distorted with pain and despair, but her words mean nothing anymore. He produces irrefutable evidence, a photograph that exposes her as a liar and a cheater in front of the whole crowd. He deals the final crushing blow, embracing his companion. He declares her his bride, with whom he will soon marry. She plays along with him, contemptuously advising her rival to get lost and not to meddle in their affairs. While she looks at them with hatred, the crowd, angry at the delay, pounces on the humiliated girl, shouting at her to go away and not interfere with them buying potions. Exiled and disgraced, she casts a parting glance at them, full of hatred, and swears that she will still remember this humiliation. A guy and a girl exhausted by hard work understand that their methods of earning money are too ineffective. She gives him valuable advice on how to avoid meaningless tasks and find real opportunities for growth. Inspired by her words, he promises to find a way to get rich quickly so that she will not need anything. His ambitions are far-reaching. He dreams of opening his own medical shop and gaining a reputation across the continent. He knows the secret of future wealth, realizing that investing in real estate now will bring him a fortune. But his grandiose plans are interrupted by the appearance of a ferocious wolf who goes hunting under the cover of night. Without losing his composure, he asks the monster, with a grin, if he has come to share his treasures with him. The wolf rushes at him in rage, his roar shaking the surrounding area. But the boy is ready for battle. He meets the attack with cold determination, his sword gleaming in the moonlight, ready to deliver the killing blow. Suddenly, he is distracted by a desperate call for help that could change the course of his entire destiny. An exhausted girl runs out of the darkness, her cry for help breaking the silence of the night. This is Princess Zi Tongyin, desperately begging for a message to be conveyed to her father, the emperor. She is being hunted by assassins from a ghostly palace. He recognizes her. It is a plot from the past, the tragic story of a princess brutally killed by a demonic cult. He looks at her with distrust, not understanding what the heir to the throne was doing in this wilderness in the middle of the night. Through tears, she recounts that her convoy was attacked by demons, and in the chaos, she was left all alone fleeing. He interrupts her story, his face hardening and a cold determination appearing in his eyes. Ahead of her, her pursuers appear, sinister hooded figures who have come to take her life. Their leader sneers at him, threatening to kill him for daring to stand in their way. But the guy just grins in response, taking out the talisman and challengingly inviting them to come closer. He activates the talisman and purple lightning strikes from the sky, incinerating the demons on the spot. A sudden terror grips the dark spellcasters, and they feel the very atmosphere become hostile, like a goddess descending from the heavens. His master appears, her voice promising punishment to anyone who dared to offend. Her student, the disciple, now confident, recounts how these demonic minions threaten not only him, but her as well. Her fury flares up in a beautiful and terrifying storm, condemning her enemies to an inglorious end. Without wasting words, she unleashes her power upon them, and their dying cries become the music of her vengeance. He can only watch in admiration, his heart filled with pride for his incredible and powerful mentor. The danger has passed, but a new question hangs in the air. Why did he not return to the sect for so long? The student sheepishly explains that he simply wanted to earn money for a decent gift for his beloved mentor. She gives him a new talisman, reminding him that he can always call on her for help, thanks to saving the princess. His reputation grows, and he gains respect throughout the continent. He talks about justice, but in his soul, he already anticipates how the glory of the princess's savior will open all doors for him. The princess is embarrassed by his modesty. Her heart trembles with gratitude to her savior. His words about good and evil are just a beautiful mask, behind which hides a calculating player, who is increasing his rating in her eyes. Charmed by his nobility, she asks him to accompany her to the palace, unaware that this is his real goal. The grandeur of the imperial palace amazes him, and he understands that he has entered a world of completely different possibilities. Rumors of his feat have already preceded him, and now everyone in the palace knows about the mysterious follower of the sword sect. A third figure appears on the stage, the third prince of the imperial family, and his gaze speaks of power and hidden strength. The princess's joyful cry breaks the tension, and she rushes to her brother, introducing him to her hero. He humbly bows his head before the prince, introducing himself as the very savior the entire palace is already talking about. The prince thanks him for saving his sister and offers any reward, not even realizing that this hero came for something more than just gold. He asked for only a modest piece of land, hiding his true ambitions behind a mask of humility. But the prince, playing his role as a generous patron, give him not just land, but an entire shop in the very heart of the city. In his hands is not just a document, but the key to a future empire. And he is already calculating how much time he has saved on the way to his goal. The property deed in his hands confirms what his eyes see, a beautiful building ready to become the beginning of his ascent. He cannot hide his triumph, because the property of the imperial family is now in his hands, and this is only the beginning. The location of the shop exceeds all expectations. It is a boiling cauldron of life, where every passerby is a potential client. His path to success is immediately met with temptation, but the tempting calls of neighboring establishments do not touch his cold calculation. Even the most sophisticated tricks and promises of pleasure cannot lead him astray from his intended path. With just one charming gesture, he wins their hearts, turning potential competitors into his adoring fans. He stands in front of his shop, seeing not just a building, but a future corporation worth hundreds of billions, and his crazy dream takes on real features. They greet him with humility, recognizing him as the new master of their destiny. Former employees confirm his new status with trepidation. He is now officially their master. One of them, embarrassed, offers her knowledge, trying to prove her usefulness to the new boss. The other one, passionately, assures that she is ready to take on all the responsibility. Just to earn his trust, they hand him an account book, the key to the secrets and riches of the shop. But he is already ready to rewrite all the rules. With one decision, he destroys the old order. Because his property cannot remain in the shadows, he gives the shop a new loud name. And this bold step plunges his employees into real shock. His first order sounds like madness. He proposes to trade the rarest poison, risking the wrath of the entire city. To a completely reasonable question about the shortage of goods, he only smiles mysteriously, because a brilliant plan has already matured in his head. He proposes to create artificial excitement, turning scarcity into his main weapon on the path to untold riches. His plan worked. The pharmacy is thriving, and now, with a sense of accomplishment, he can return to the sect. He bursts into her chambers, joyfully announcing his return like a soldier returning victorious. Her gaze is calm, but in the depths of her eyes, there's a question mixed with a barely noticeable joy at his return. He does not hide his joy, comparing their meeting to a long-awaited reunion, which is sweeter than a honeymoon. She teases him with a slight smile, asking if he became the son-in-law of the emperor himself. After his feat, her words cut to the quick, and he furiously swears eternal allegiance to his sect and master, rejecting any other fate. Her slight movement of her hand makes his body convulse, reminding him who is really in charge here. As if by magic, he finds himself in her arms, and his vows of fidelity no longer sound so confident. Finally, he presents her with a gift collected at the foot of the mountains, putting all his devotion into it. He swears to protect her to the last drop of blood, because without his master, he is only dust under his feet. He places the bracelet on her with trepidation, and at that moment their worlds touch. Her heart skips a beat, and the system dispassionately records how their souls become one. A kiss on her hand becomes a revelation for him. He has finally found the key to her heart. Her surprised whisper brings him back to reality, but the spark between them has already ignited. He immediately turns awkwardness into a compliment, and his words like an ancient poem caress her ears. She tries to hide her embarrassment behind sternness, but the question about his affairs sounds like concern. Now that all the materials are collected, she orders him to retire for a breakthrough, but he expects something else. His fear becomes her opportunity. She offers her protection, erasing the boundaries between master and student. He obeys, and under her watchful gaze, the streams of energy begin to weave into a new, unprecedented force. In a whirlwind of power, he is reborn, gaining the talent to change fate, and becoming a threat even to immortals. The heavens have given their verdict, and he has only 30 minutes to prepare for the deadly ordeal. The first blow of heavenly punishment falls upon him, but its power becomes his indestructible shield. He challenges the heavens themselves, because behind him stands the one who is stronger than any element. But there is concern in her voice. She knows that he will soon have to face the test alone. His self-confidence is shattered. He cannot believe that she will leave him alone. At the most decisive moment, she explains that the power of heaven's wrath has exceeded all her expectations, and further intervention will only worsen his fate. Her words sound like a sentence. If she continues to defend him, heavenly punishment will become even more terrible. Deprived of her protection and his talisman, he is left alone with his fear and the fragility of his soul. But hope flashes in her eyes. She knows a way that will help him pass this test. Her answer is simple and terrible. The only way is through the Stormlands, a place from which not everyone returns. His path leads him to the Thunderlands, where he must find a storm dragon to gain power. By killing the dragon, he will receive its thunder heart, which will become his invulnerability to heavenly punishment. Memories of a past life where he almost died in these lands are replaced by confidence, because now the hero has her talisman. The guy thanks his mentor and, without wasting a minute, sets off to meet his destiny. But she stops him. Her touch makes him freeze. She wants to say something important. Her voice sounds like a warning. The Stormlands are not only storms, but also a ruthless world where lawlessness reigns. A sudden realization hits him. The talisman is powerless against lightning, and despair overwhelms the young man. But despair gives way to determination. Even without her protection, Lin is still a hero ready to challenge fate. As soon as the protagonist utters these words, heavenly wrath falls upon him, proving that his courage was premature. And then he remembers the last gift. The umbrella from the master becomes his salvation. She foresaw everything. She gives him one last piece of advice. The umbrella will protect him from lightning, but the real battle is up to him. He gratefully accepts her gift, promising that one day he will repay her kindness in full. Ancient legends come alive in his mind as he races through the storm, guided by the prophecy of the Thunder God. In a sudden revelation, the Thunder God is his target. Now Lin knows exactly what he needs to do. Suddenly a monster appears from the muddy water, and the young man rushes to attack without hesitation. But he's not alone. The boy calls on his faithful bear, promising him a feast in exchange for help. The bear lives up to his expectations. A furious, thunderous attack takes away the last of the monster's strength. The hero watches the battle with a grin, because his pet is also a creature of the storm, and his strength is not inferior to that of a crocodile. Lin gives the order, and now they act as one. Two predators chasing their prey. He delivers the finishing blow, and the blade of his sword rips through the monster's flesh. Ending this deadly fight, the battle is over, and he generously gives the monster's carcass to his faithful bear. Buying its loyalty, the treasures of the defeated monster are now his. And while the armor seems useless, to him the Thunderstones contain hidden power. But the system presents him with a new surprise. Special items that he didn't even know about appear in his inventory. These are the eggs of a thunder crocodile, and a fire lights up in his eyes as he gets a chance to raise his own invincible creatures. But his triumph is interrupted by two bandits, their smiles full of poison, and their words leave no doubt about their intentions. Lin speaks of honor with a grin, trying to reason with them, but he knows very well that honor is not held in high esteem in these lands. Their answer is simple and cruel. The signal flare in their hands is a death sentence that they are ready to carry out. The protagonist only laughs in response to their threats. His calmness drives them crazy. One of them's patience snaps, and she draws her bow, ready to prove that her threats are not empty words. Memories of his past life flash through his mind. The 10,000 demon sect, his old enemies, are on his way again. The guy remembers that. The 10,000 demon sect is a powerful organization, equal in strength to his native sword sect, and the scales are not in their favor. Because in his sect, there is only one immortal while the enemy has two. The hero understands that now is not the time for open conflict, because one mistake can ruin all his grandiose plans. He hands over the eggs, and a triumphant grin appears on their faces, confident of their easy victory. But their greed knows no bounds. Now they demand that he give up his faithful bear as well. The young man's patience snaps, and he draws his sword, challenging their insolence. She doesn't waste time on words. The arrow flies off the bowstring, bringing death with it, but Lin is faster. He dodges the deadly attack and goes on the attack himself. His movements are like a dance of death. He easily parries their blows, sowing chaos and panic suddenly. Her body is frozen by an invisible force, and she realizes with horror that she underestimated this guy. He stands over them like a judge, and his words about mercy sound like a mockery. Bound and helpless, they can only moan. Their pride trampled, he does not intend to kill them, but there must be punishment. And the instrument of their humiliation appears in his hands. Their pleas for mercy are drowned out by his mad laughter. He enjoys their helplessness. Lin pretends to believe their false promises, playing with them like a cat with a mouse. They swear eternal silence, ready to do anything to avoid his sophisticated torture. One swing of his sword grants them freedom, and at that moment, they make their final mistake. They immediately pounce on him, confident of their victory, but they have forgotten who they are dealing with. But their triumph is short-lived, as cold steel pierces her flesh, cutting off her laughter forever. He doesn't beat women, he kills them, and they will remember this lesson for the rest of their short lives. Her dying cry is full of rage. She tries to drag him into the grave with her, but her attack is in vain. He easily dodges the blow as if playing with her. They lie in a pool of their own blood. Their story is over. He looks at them without regret. They chose their own fate. And now it's time to pay, leaving behind the bodies of their enemies. The hero and his faithful companion continue on their way, but their death did not go unnoticed. A young master appears on the scene, and his appearance does not bode well. He looks at the bodies of his subordinates with disdain. They are just pawns who foolishly wasted his time. But the thought that someone dared to kill his people ignites a flame of rage within him. He vows to find the insolent man, flay him, and suck out his soul. And his vow echoes across the cursed lands. Meanwhile, the young man, unaware of the new threat, remembers the leader of demonic sects, whose cruelty and ambitions can engulf the entire world. Realizing that he has become an enemy, the guy understands that he must now be extremely careful. And at this moment, he needs the support of his master more than ever. His thoughts wander to his mentor. He remembers her care and sheepishly admits to himself that his feelings for her go beyond the bounds of ordinary apprenticeship. Thousands of li away from him, she suddenly senses his thoughts and jokingly attributes it to the hot pepper, not realizing the real reason. Meanwhile, the maid brings her a basket with the most exquisite products, collected from all corners of the world. The teacher approves of the brought dishes and orders them to be placed on the table. Everything is ready for her mysterious ritual. She looks with satisfaction at the rarest ingredients, which contain hidden power that can change destiny. Her only goal is to learn how to cook and create a dish for her student that will give him unprecedented strength. But reality turns out to be much more terrible than his thoughts. He encounters the sacred beast of the 10,000 demon sect. The hero understands that failure is pursuing him, having barely escaped one danger. He immediately fell into the clutches of another, but there is no fear in his eyes. Because the more dangerous the situation, the more valuable the reward, and he is ready to risk everything. His sword cuts through the air, and the icy blow of the rainy moon falls upon the enemy, leaving him no chance, but the beast responds with a fiery attack, and the air is filled with hot feathers, turning the battlefield into a real hell. The hero does not flinch. His own fiery whirlwind meets the beast's attack, and the two elements collide in a mortal battle. His blow hits its target, and the sacred beast, the pride of the 10,000 demon sect, explodes, showering the ground with ash. The whole world witnesses his triumph, and the heavens generously reward him for his first victory over a gold-rank boss. Among the rewards, he finds the summoning sand of the Northern Sea, the most important material for creating the celestial crystal. But that's not all. He gets his hands on boots that not only increase his speed, but also hide his tracks, making him virtually invisible. The guy is pleased with his new techniques, because now he can not only hover on a sword, but also move at incredible speed. Even the useless weapons for him, the bow and the axe, will become a source of income that will help him in his great plans. But his triumph is interrupted by a sudden sense of danger. Someone is coming, and this someone is clearly not a friend. The traces of fire instead of lightning confused the dark followers. It was not a thunder dragon, but a sacred beast looking at the remains of the firewolves. The young master realizes that their enemy is not as simple as it seemed. His interest is piqued. He must find the one who dared to challenge his authority and kill his people. Meanwhile, Lin, tired of the endless search, begins to feel that this game is becoming his second life. A sudden meeting turns into a deadly threat. Now that his secret is revealed, he cannot leave her alive. He offers her an easy death in exchange for her submission, but his generosity is only a mask for his true intentions. Defeated, she realizes with horror that she has fallen into the hands of the 10,000 demon sex dog, and now her life hang vows to complete the task perfectly. And the mentor finally goes into long solitude. The guy is alarmed to realize that the plot is developing too quickly, because this mission was supposed to start much later. The image of his beautiful older sister appears in the young man's mind like a vision, and his heart skips a beat with anticipation. His sister greets him from the roof of the palace, having guessed from the heavenly punishment about his next breakthrough in strength. With a slight grin and a flick of his fan, the guy confirms his success, reminding her that he hasn't forgotten their long-standing promise. With a wink, he whispers that tonight the two of them will go on a secret stroll through the night city. The girl smiles with relief, because she already thought that in the pursuit of power, he had completely forgotten about her. However, her joy is replaced by anxiety, because her strict father and grandfather will never let her go on a date. Not wanting to retreat, the hero suggests that they go separately and meet at the Eastern Gate, where no one will see them. He fears his teacher's wrath much more than she fears her father, because this meeting could cost him everything. Night falls on the city, lighting lanterns and filling the streets with enticing aromas and the cries of merchants. Amidst the noisy crowd, the young man buys 2 sweet treats, eagerly awaiting his secret guest. Finally, his older sister appears at the gate, her shy smile lighting up everything around her. Suddenly, the guy playfully shoves a whole stick of candy into her mouth, catching the girl off guard. She yells at him in a rage, because she has hated these sugary, candied fruits since childhood. But the hero only smiles innocently. The young man, with disarming tenderness, tells her that she is beautiful even when she is angry, and his sister's anger immediately subsides. Embarrassed by the compliment, she admits that his words are sweeter than any candied fruit, and curiously asks about his future plans. Looking around, the girl anxiously asks if anyone noticed them, because if the teacher finds out, they will be in trouble. The protagonist confidently takes her by the hand and leads her along, promising to show her the best show in town. To the enchanting sounds of music, dancers appear on stage, their smooth movements captivating and hypnotizing. But the guy's attention is focused not on the stage, but on his sister, and he whispers that she is more interesting than any performance. While she looks at the stage and he at her, their idol is interrupted by a servant, who brings a mysterious order from the young hero. The guy hands his gift to his sister with a sly smile, and she is surprised to see that it is a collection of romance novels. Deeply touched, the girl thanks him, because no one has ever spoiled her the way he has. The hero grins smugly, because he knows exactly how to please a girl and win her heart. In the ensuing silence, the sister hopefully asks if he will always be so caring toward her. The young man tenderly embraces her and whispers that there is room in his heart only for her, remembering his past love victories. And as proof of his words, he takes out an elegant necklace that he chose especially for her. When the hero puts the decoration on her neck, their hearts beat in unison, filling with harmony and agreement. Seeing her happy blush, the guy understands that he can now confidently take her hand and lead her away, overwhelmed with emotion. The sister gives him a sudden and tender kiss, catching the hero off guard. Their privacy is disturbed by the indignant cries of the crowd, because some impudent fellow is kissing the most beautiful girl, having stolen her right from under their noses. Suddenly, the sister tells alarming news. Her father is taking her to a sword school tournament, which means they will be separated. This news awakens bitter memories of the past in the hero, because he once lost in a similar tournament. The young man, with ostentatious pathos, wishes his sister an easy victory, so that all her enemies fall prostrate at her feet. With shining eyes, the girl promises that if she takes first place, she will give the main prize to him. Her younger brother, the guy, is delighted, because the sword sect seems to him to be a wonderful place, where he can make influential allies. At every step, The happy girl says goodbye to him and promises to return victorious, leaving the young man alone. Watching her go, the hero understands that victory is not the most important thing for him, as long as everything is okay with her. Left alone, the boy hurries about his business, while his sister runs to meet her destiny. Now his path lies through the nightmare, because time does not wait, and he urgently needs to solve his problems. Suddenly, at an auction, he notices a rare pill for a spiritual beast, but its price turns out to be simply sky high. This pill, which can increase the strength of a spirit beast, becomes the key to untold wealth for the hero. Without bargaining, the young man buys all 200 pills, making the merchant the happiest man in the world. In anticipation of imminent profit, the guy feeds his pet because in a couple of months, the price of these pills will skyrocket. The appearance of the main character from the sword set at the gate of the test causes a furor. The crowd does not believe their eyes. Those around him look at his well-fed beast with disdain, mistaking the hero's calmness for impudence and arrogance. The crowd's taunts only amuse the young man, and without thinking, he chooses the hellish difficulty mode. Shocking everyone, the audience is shaking their heads, because even the genius who entered the portal 2 weeks ago has still not passed even 80%. Lively debates and bets immediately begin on who will come out first, the newbie or the genius stuck there. Everyone is betting on his opponent, because that Lin is a spiritual child with an innate gift. His strength is colossal. The crowd throws spirit stones with enthusiasm, confident of Lin's victory, not giving our hero a single chance. Suddenly, a mysterious, hooded stranger makes a huge bet of 100 spirit stones on Lin's victory. In the crowd, she is recognized by a beautiful elf, who confidently declares that the man she has taken a fancy to simply cannot lose. This news shocks the crowd, but is immediately replaced by greed, because if the hero loses, untold wealth awaits them. Meanwhile, the protagonist remembers everything he knows about the Nightmare, one of the most iconic and dangerous dungeons of the Eight Wastes. Unlike other dungeons, Nightmare has its own plot that makes players forget about reality. This story is so tragic that everyone who followed it to the end left in tears. Many lost their minds trying to change the course of history, and in the end they did not dare to strike the main boss. While the young man was thinking, a cart caught up with him on the street, from which a man he knew got out. The elder respectfully handed the note to the mysterious stranger and invited her to follow him. When the girl emerged from the shadows, the crowd gasped in admiration, because another incomparable beauty appeared before them. A desperate woman seeks help from the village elder, dreaming of giving an heir to her husband who is fighting in the war. Rumor has it that a baby can be bought here, and this last hope brings her to the threshold of a mysterious house. The headman, with false kindness, assures her that it would be a great honor for him to help her. Hiding his true motives, he invites her in with a welcoming smile, drawing her into a trap from which there is no escape. A terrifying scene awaits her outside the door, a room filled with crying babies resembling hell on earth. The old man offers her to choose any child, but on one condition: this deal must remain a secret. The girl, with a sly smile, promises to remain silent, but her eyes do not reveal maternal feelings at all. Hiding in the shadows, the protagonist calmly watches what has happened, because he is not at all worried about her fate. Suddenly, the headman attacks the woman from behind, laughingly declaring that she will never leave here again. His accomplice approvingly praises the excellent work, because their cunning plan worked flawlessly. The bandits look at their new victim with anticipation, because they haven't had such a beautiful girl for a long time. One of the robbers greedily asks the leader how they will share the beautiful captive. Suddenly, Lin intervenes in the conversation, imperiously declaring that he will not take the money, but the girl will be his. The bandits are outraged because they are not robbing for money, but for survival and women who are hard to find in this wilderness. The air is filled with tension as to how they will resolve this dispute, and all eyes turn to the leader. The leader proposes a monstrous plan. Each will take her for 2 days, and when she becomes pregnant, they will decide whose child it is and who will get the woman. With a disgusting grin, the headman declares that he will be the first, and no one dares to contradict him. While the robbers argue, the young man coldly reminds them not to spoil the goods, causing them only irritation. Suddenly, one of the bandits raises the jug and, with a triumphant cry, declares that she is now his. Meanwhile, in another place, 2 men in winter clothes are discussing with fear that the child they found was the offspring of this one-eyed freak. The one-eyed bandit cuts off the whispers behind his back in rage, his icy gaze not a good sign. The girl's fate is decided, according to the cruel laws of the gang. She goes to the one-eyed man, and no one dares to object, grabbing the unfortunate woman by the hair. He mockingly promises her a luxurious life, which in reality turns out to be hell. The others look after him with envy, begging him not to overdo it and leave some entertainment for them. With a sadistic laugh, he drags her through the snow, promising to break her pride and show her his boundless power. The protagonist watches this scene with a heavy sigh, realizing that this is only the beginning of the nightmare he has fallen into suddenly. The bandits stumble upon a lifeless body and with horror, recognize it as the same captive. Realizing that she has escaped, the bandits furiously set off in pursuit, following the bloody footprints left in the snow. The chase continues into the dark forest, and the traces of blood found only fuel their thirst for revenge. Cornered, wounded, but not broken, the girl clutches a bloody cleaver in her hands, ready to give the last fight. In a desperate attempt to save herself, the girl falls off the cliff, but her pursuers with torches are already catching up with her, grabbing the fugitive by the hair. One of the bandits angrily shouts in her face where she's going to run. The robbers argue in fear whether to inform the authorities, because if the guards find out about their deeds, they will be in trouble in the girl's hands. A ring shines the last memory of her past life, while the bandits decide what to do with her next. To avoid further problems, they decide to get rid of her before anyone sees her, because dead men don't talk. The leader raises his sword over her head with cruel determination, intending to personally end her life. In her last moment, the girl looks at him with a strange, almost happy smile, accepting her fate. Two bandits reluctantly dig a grave in the frozen ground, cursing the leader who always dumps all the dirty work on them. In the freezing cold of the night forest, they hurry to finish as soon as possible, in order to return to warmth and comfort. Hiding on a tree branch, the protagonist listens to their conversation with horror, realizing that their leader is not a man. But a real beast panic is growing in the city, as people involved in a dark affair begin to disappear without a trace. And someone whispers that this is the work of ghosts, but others just brush it off, because months have passed since those events. What other ghost could be taking their revenge? Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by a panicked scream that echoes down the street, foreshadowing terrible trouble. Running into the house, they see a monstrous picture. The dismembered body of their leader is suspended from the ceiling, and horror grips their hearts. In a panic, the elder shouts to call the guards quickly, because whoever did this could still be somewhere nearby. Suddenly, a voice from nowhere announces that the story is over, and the protagonist, waking up, realizes that it was just a dream. But this is not just a dream, but part of the test, and those watching his progress know that he is now obliged to remain in the game. With cold determination, the guy combs the forest because in this memory, he needs to find the key and reach the final boss. Suddenly, among the fallen leaves, he finds what he was looking for. A small wedding ring, the only hope of the murdered girl. Now he has the key because this ring, given to her by her husband, became her last source of strength and the only way to pass this test. From the flames and ashes rises the final boss, a massive monster made of hatred and despair. With a furious scream, the demon takes on its true form, turning into a monster with a toothy mouth thirsting only for blood. The hero understands with a cold grin that before him is not just a ghost, but a demon born from an unsettled soul. Without a second's hesitation, the boy rushes into the attack, his blade cutting off the monster's limbs one by one. With pain in his voice, the young man asks her to let go of her hatred, because he is sincerely sorry that this happened to her. He tries to reach out to her, because all her enemies are already dead, and there is no point in continuing to kill innocents. With compassion, the protagonist begs her to end this suffering, and finally find the long-awaited peace. But in response, the demon only lets out a furious roar, her hatred too strong to listen to the voice of reason. The guy understands that her tragic fate does not justify the evil that she is now doing. With a heavy heart, the hero raises his sword, because revenge has already been accomplished, and it is time to let go of this obsession. By sending her to reincarnation, the young man deals a crushing blow to end her suffering and return her to the cycle of lives. In its death, throws the demon lets out a heart-rending scream as the sacred energy tears it apart. With its last strength, the monster spews a stream of corrosive blood rain at the hero, trying to take him with it to the grave. But the guy just grins because his spiritual shield, received as a reward, finally came in handy and saved his life, without giving the enemy time to recover. The hero delivers a cross-shaped blow with his sword, leaving deep wounds on the demon's body. With a furious cry, he unleashes all his power, dealing devastating damage and knocking the monster back, despite almost complete loss of health. The demon begins to devour its own flesh, regenerating and becoming even stronger. The protagonist notices with alarm that the fire of self-healing is already flaring up, and there is no more time to delay. In a desperate dash, he soars into the sky, summoning all his strength for a strike called Dawn. As the demon faces its inevitable demise, it lets out a final furious roar that echoes throughout the forest. Even on the threshold of death burning in the sacred flame, her soul screams for revenge, wanting only to kill, but before her death, the veil of hatred falls from her eyes, and she finally sees what was hidden beyond the edge of reality. The image of her beloved husband, who has returned from the war, appears before her like a vision, and she reaches out to him with hope. In a cry choked with tears, all her pain and longing burst out. Because she missed him for so long and desperately, he hugs her tenderly, admitting with a guilty smile that he came too late to save her. Horror and bewilderment splash in her eyes, because she does not understand how he who died in the war can be here with a bitter smile. He admits that his squad was destroyed, and only death allowed him to hear her call, crying. He blames himself for her suffering, calling himself a worthless bastard who couldn't protect her. Through tears, she forgives him, assuring him that she never blamed him. And now they will finally be together forever, watching their reunion in the afterlife. The protagonist respectfully wishes her soul to rest in peace. The defeated demon in skeletal form kneels, his soul finally ready for its final journey. The young man clutches in his hand the last key item, the wedding ring, which will become a pass to a new life. With tenderness, he places the ring on the finger of the bony hand, reuniting the two lovers for eternity. Having accepted the final gift, her body crumbles to dust, the liberated soul finally finding the long-awaited peace. As a reward for his efforts, the guy receives untold treasures, 3 items of the highest class. At once the system thunders throughout the world, announcing the name of the hero, the first one to single-handedly pass through the hellish nightmare. The crowd is horrified because their bets have been lost, and this unknown upstart has really done the impossible. The beautiful elf looks at the portal with delight. Her heart is filled with love for her hero, who easily overcame the hellish dungeon. With a scream, she rushes towards him with open arms, vowing to always be by his side. The whole city is in shock, because the news that someone has gone through the hellish nightmare is spreading everywhere, and it seems simply unbelievable. The news of a new victory spreads throughout the city, and one mysterious girl looks at the sky with interest. Suddenly she takes off, determined to latch onto this cool guy's fame at any cost. Sending him a cheeky message, she demands that he pay for her travel, because she has already completed her task and is rushing to him. In a reply voice message, the hero indignantly reproaches her for grief, because she herself is far from poor. Taking pity, he nevertheless agrees to come himself, and asks to wait for him at the city gates, where he will already teleport. While waiting for the hero, the girl thinks with disdain about his stinginess, because he couldn't even pay for her travel. Not having waited for him, she decides with a sly grin that he has become arrogant, and it is time to teach him a lesson for being late. Suddenly, a group of impudent guys approaches her, inviting her beauty to go with them into the dungeon. She looks at them with icy contempt, declaring that with such a pathetic look, they still dare to pick up girls. Enraged by their insolence, the gang leader, engulfed in purple flames, threateningly reminds her that she is just a newbie. With a sly smile, the girl suggests that the impudent guys first ask her brother's permission before pestering her, and then, as if out of thin air, the figure of her protector appears behind their backs, and she challenges them that if they are as strong as he is, then she will go. The bandits jump back in horror, because they didn't even notice how this silent guy appeared. Behind them, recognition turns to panic, because Lin himself stands before them, with an icy threat in his voice. The hero promises to knock out all their teeth if they dare to say another word. The girl adds fuel to the fire, with a sly grin, telling her brother that these guys wanted to challenge him. In wild terror, the hooligans run away, apologizing and begging for mercy as they go, just to save their own skins. With a playful grin, she teases the young man, noting that he has a rather menacing name that makes everyone run away. As soon as he started to get a little proud, she immediately knocked him down a peg, holding out her hand and demanding the promised gift. With a heavy sigh, he hands her the reward she has been waiting for, and she happily accepts her trophy. The girl looks at the legendary Storm's knuckles with distrust, because she has only seen such an artifact in the ratings. Not believing her luck, she clutches the priceless knuckle duster to her chest, because she could not even dream of such a gift. But the hero's generosity knows no bounds, and he offers her several more valuable items that take her breath away. She delightedly calls him a darling, because his gifts exceeded all her wildest expectations, in anticipation of a solid profit. The young man asks with a smile when she's going to pay him back. With a flirtatious smile, the girl complains about the lack of money, and playfully tugging at his clothes, offers to pay in kind and feign horror. The boy declares that he is a monk who has renounced all passions, and would never agree to such a thing. she realizes with a grin that he is again using the same trick that she had already fallen for once. Deciding to play along, the girl sadly refuses the expensive things, saying that she simply cannot afford them. Surrendering, the young man gives her everything with a laugh, confessing that from the very beginning, he had prepared these gifts only for her. The young man slyly convinces her that this is a profitable investment because once she becomes stronger, she'll be able to repay him 100-fold. But the girl doubts her abilities, considering herself talentless and his investments a waste of money. The guy gently touches her hair, assuring her that her innate talent will help her become one of the strongest in this world. A spark of hope lights up in her eyes, and she asks with trepidation if this is true, afraid to believe her luck. With a warm smile, he confirms her uniqueness, joking that, with his guidance, even a pig can reach the top. Enraged by the comparison, she screams and sends the hero flying with a powerful kick, having pinned him to the ground. The girl suddenly asks for help, because the elder of the inner hall wants to take her as a student. With an angelic smile, she begs Lin-san to help her complete one important task, on which her fate depends. The beaten hero looks at her with resentment, not understanding how she could ask for help after having just knocked him out. With a heavy sigh, he finally agrees to listen, although his face is still burning from her blow. The girl reveals the essence of the task she needs to catch a mysterious creature in the lake of spiritual monsters. But she herself does not know how dangerous it is. Without wasting a second, the hero jumps up, ready to set off on his journey immediately, which greatly surprises his companion. The young man offers to fly, and since she is still too weak to fly, he gallantly offers to carry her on his back. With a joyful cry, she jumps on his back without thinking, almost knocking him off his feet. Confused by her sudden closeness, the guy asks her to hold on tight, because a dizzying flight awaits them. In wild delight, she lets out a victory cry, enjoying the flight, while her companion can hardly keep a straight face. Suddenly their flight is interrupted, and they fall head over heels to the ground with a loud cry, unable to maintain their balance. The girl screams his name in horror, not understanding what happened, and whether he is okay after such a fall. Crushed by her body, the young man, with difficulty, squeezes out of himself that he is completely out of order, and asks her not to blab. Finally, they reach their destination, and before them lies the legendary lake of spiritual monsters, fraught with many dangers. This lake is a real gold mine for beginners, because you can get a fortune for the rare fish that live here. But beneath its calm surface lurks a deadly danger, for the bottom is inhabited by river demons, jealously guarding their prey. These creatures are powerful and hunt in packs, turning any attempt at fishing into a suicide mission for a novice. The hero and his companion arrive at a pre-prepared place, near the lake at the most crucial moment. The girl realizes with horror that in her haste, she forgot her fishing rod, and now their mission is in danger of failure. With a sly grin, the young man takes out a spiritual thread made of spider silk, assuring that with such an artifact, the fisherman will never leave empty-handed. After handing her the line, the guy casually declares that he will take a nap, while she fishes, covering himself with a fan. He pretends to be asleep with an unperturbed look, leaving the girl alone with the dangerous lake. Confident in her abilities, she thinks with disdain that she took him with her in vain, because she can handle such a simple task herself. Suddenly the line tightens, and she screams for the guy, not suspecting that it is not a fish that has been caught on the hook, but something much more dangerous. She barely manages to catch a fish, when a whole flock of bloodthirsty monsters pounces on her from the depths of the lake. With a smug grin, the guy asks if she now understands the complexity of the quest, but immediately assures her that he is nearby. In a panic, the girl throws the fish to him, screaming for him to hold it, because now she won't be able to care about the catch. A furious flame flares in her eyes as she enters battle mode, ready to fight back against the lake creatures like a fury. She rushes into the thick of her enemies, dodging deadly attacks and throwing them back, accumulating energy in her leg. She prepares a crushing blow, capable of splitting the skull of any monster. With a powerful kick, she knocks out one of the sharks, proving that her beauty is as dangerous as her strength. With a sharp push, she soars into the air, barely dodging a giant tail that darts out from the depths. The water explodes from the force of her attacks, scattering the predators in different directions, and turning the battle into a bloody mess. Gathering all her fury into her fists, she unleashes her secret technique, a fiery, explosive fist ready to incinerate everything in its path. Her self-confidence knows no bounds. She is ready to crush any enemy single-handedly, causing mixed feelings in the young man. Envy and admiration are mixed in his soul. He recognizes her strength, but dreams of one day surpassing her. She offers the guy her help, but he, full of determination, is ready to cope with everything on his own. The hero rushes forward, because every second of delay could cost them everything. Unexpectedly, Lin invites her to meet in a real world, going beyond their game mission. Her happy smile speaks louder than any words. She happily accepts his proposal. Their gaming rivalry evolves into a real one, where the stakes become even higher. After an intense gaming session, the young man returns to reality. Tired, but not broken, she wakes him up for a real workout, blurring the line between the virtual and real worlds. Early morning takes the guy by surprise. He did not expect that their agreement would come into force so soon. She doesn't listen to his excuses, because he asked for this training himself. And now, there is no turning back. The guy has no choice but to submit to her will and follow her. Her training knows no mercy. She rains blow after blow on him, not giving him a second to breathe. The hero is at the limit of his strength. He is suffocating from fatigue, begging for a short respite. She mocks his weakness, her words hitting him like blows, making him feel insignificant. Condescendingly, she gives him only 5 minutes of rest, emphasizing her power over the situation. At this moment, the guy realizes how weak he is and that without serious training, he will not regain his former strength. Suddenly, something to the side catches her attention, and she anxiously points out to the young man a lonely child. Their gaze is presented with a touching scene, where an unfamiliar woman tenderly strokes the head of a little girl. This picture touches Lin to the depths of his soul, causing an embarrassed and dreamy smile to appear on his face. The familiar image of the woman haunts him, awakening vague fragments of the past in the depths of his memory. She interrupts his thoughts, reminding him that reality does not wait, and it is time for them to return. Sudden jealousy pushes her to a crazy act. She accuses him of secret desires that he did not even suspect. His ridiculous excuses only increase her disappointment. She doesn't believe a single word he says. Without giving him time to come to his senses, she drags him out for a run again, breaking the promise she made a moment ago. He is left alone with his fatigue, its ruthlessness leaving him no chance to rest. The main character understands that such a load is fatal for him. He will not be able to withstand another run like this, despite his physical weakness. In the virtual world, he is a real god, and this gives him the strength to move forward. He firmly decides that he will get back everything he lost in reality by multiplying it in the game. Back in the game, the guy is transformed. His eyes are full of determination. He is ready to crush anyone who stands in his way. A premonition leads him to his goal. He is sure that it is here, that the secret of the great master is hidden. A memory from a past life flashes, opening the way to the secret that once made another player a legend. The young man follows in the footsteps of someone else's luck, hoping that history will repeat itself for him. The traces of a fierce battle around only fuel his interest, because here two unrivaled warriors have met in a duel. Deep in a cave, he is met with a chilling silence, evidence of a tragic battle that ended 2 lives. A sad sight appears before him. 2 former enemies frozen in eternal peace after their last battle. What was rejected by one becomes a priceless treasure for another, and the hero finds what he came for. What ends up in his hands is not just a book, but the key to incredible power, capable of sweeping away everything in its path. Lin realizes that he has been given a technique worthy of the gods, and his heart is filled with determination to master it to perfection. Showing respect for the fallen warriors, he takes their legacy, vowing that their strength will live on in his hands. Suddenly, the ashes of one of the warriors crumble, revealing the secret he kept even after death. An ancient scroll emerges from beneath the remains, promising even greater strength and power. Fate gives him another gift, a secret technique that can change the course of any battle. A sudden knock pulls him out of the virtual world, returning him to the irritating reality. He leaves the game, suspecting that his parents have come for another inspection. Carefully looking through the peephole, the young man does not see anyone, and this only increases his anxiety. The invisible guest continues to break down the door, and the guy is overcome with real horror. She doesn't understand his fear, because there really is no one behind the door, but he feels an otherworldly presence. A chilling horror grips him. Could it be that a real ghost has appeared in their house? When the door opens, the same girl from the park stands on the threshold, and her appearance seems impossible. Her question takes him by surprise. He didn't expect to see this mysterious stranger here. The girl's answer turns his world upside down, because she came to check on her own house. Lin can't believe his ears. This little girl turns out to be his formidable mistress. His companion tries to diffuse the situation with compliments, admiring the young lady's business acumen. But the girl cannot be fooled by flattery. Her cold gaze makes it clear that she did not come here for empty talk. She inspects the apartment with the air of a true inspector, and the perfect cleanliness seems to completely satisfy her. The test is over. But there's one last question that leaves the couple tense. Her direct question about their relationship leaves them both stumped, making their hearts beat faster. The hero's companion awkwardly tries to justify herself, but her words sound completely unconvincing. The girl's sly smile gives her away completely. She sees right through them, and she clearly enjoys this game. She tries to take the hint, but the girl's words only increase her suspicions. With childish spontaneity, she explains that she is worried about him, because beautiful people always suffer. Fury overwhelms her. She accuses Lin of collusion, seeing it as revenge for the morning training. He denies her accusations with a grin, because children see what is hidden from adult eyes. Her anger leads to carelessness, and she burns her hand while distracted from cooking. Despair overcomes her because dinner is hopelessly ruined, and with it her mood. But the aroma of food attracts the little guest, and her curiosity turns out to be stronger than her fear. She decides to play along, trying to figure out if this naughty young man sent her to annoy her. The girl stands firm, insisting that she came here of her own free will, surrendering to the pressure of her innocence. She invites the little rascal to share dinner with them. The unexpected refusal of the girl, faithful to her aunt's instructions, takes them by surprise. The young man intervenes. His gentle persuasion and promise of safety make her think. Charmed by his kindness, she agrees, causing a new attack of jealousy in his companion. To ease the tension, he suggests that everyone share a meal together, putting aside all arguments for the time being. His thoughts return to the game. He worries about her and her training, because they will soon have to fight again. His concern breaks through. He touchingly looks after her, forgetting about his own problems. A message from a guild brings him back to the harsh reality that the enemy is not sleeping, and a new battle will soon begin. He tries to find out where their new friend lives, not yet suspecting how close her house is. She talks about her beautiful and talented aunt, and her words awaken vague memories in him. The puzzle begins to come together. He realizes that the mysterious woman from the park is her aunt, but her image still seems painfully familiar to him. A sudden revelation strikes him like lightning, and he cries out, unable to contain the shock. He can't believe his luck. His heart is pounding in his chest as he desperately searches for confirmation of his guess. The little girl's words come as a bolt from the blue for him, confirming his wildest assumptions. Confusion and trepidation overwhelm the young man, because he is completely unprepared to meet the one he has thought so much about. She appears on the threshold, and her elegant appearance makes his heart freeze in his chest. Her voice sounds like music to his ears, although he is unable to utter a word in response. Recognition flashes in his eyes, because standing before him is not just a beautiful woman, but a future legend while his aunt and niece are happy to meet. The boy tries to comprehend the scale of his luck. Her slight reproach towards the girl seems unreal to him, because he sees a future star in front of him. He understands that fate has given him a unique chance, because he has met the one who will one day conquer the whole world. He decides to reveal his cards by confessing his love for her music, which shocks her. His companion watches this scene with suspicion, not understanding his sudden interest in the little-known singer. To prove his sincerity, the guy starts singing, and his voice fills the room with the magic of her own music. Every note that escaped his lips resonated in her soul, making her heart flutter. Their voices merge in a duet, and for a moment they become one, connected by a common melody. Even his eternally dissatisfied girlfriend cannot hide her admiration. Her talent is obvious to everyone. She admits that his words saved her, because she was already ready to give up her dream. The young man, smiling, convinces her that her talent will definitely find recognition. She just needs to believe in herself. His words of encouragement ignite a new fire within her, giving her the hope she so needed. Deeply moved, she thanks him, promising that she will not give up and will continue on her way. On this evening, a new friendship is born, cemented by shared admiration and sincere smiles. The girl joins their alliance, extending her hand in a sign of trust. She proudly states her name, and her innocence melts the hearts of everyone present. An innocent question about her name brings a warm smile, because it was given to her by her beloved mother. But behind this smile, there's a pain of loss. Her words about her mother shock everyone. Suddenly, the young man opens his soul, confessing that he, too, is an orphan, and their pain becomes common. He finds words of comfort, reminding her that she is not alone because she has a caring aunt. Gratitude overwhelms her, and she throws herself into his arms, finding in him a kindred spirit. She finds peace in his arms, and he promises that they will now take care of each other. Their eyes meet, and in that moment, something more than just friendship is born. She cordially invites everyone to the table, but his thoughts are already far away, in the world of virtual battles. He politely declines because he has unfinished business ahead of him that cannot be delayed in the game. He has transformed his strength and determination know no bounds, because here he is a real king. The guy arrives in an ominous gorge where every stone breathes death, but this only fuels his excitement. His appearance does not go unnoticed. Hostile glances follow his every step. The fame of his exploits runs ahead of him, and he is inundated with offers from the best guilds on the server. But the hero remains true to himself, politely rejecting all temptations, because freedom is more important to him than any money. In this life, he chose the path of a loner, deciding to develop quietly and not enter into unnecessary conflicts. A sudden shout breaks the silence, and his name sounds like a death sentence, challenging his peaceful plans. The past catches up with him in the person of an old enemy who thirsts for revenge and is ready to settle old scores with him. The sudden appearance of an ally breaks the fragile truce, her cry full of despair and alarm. She points at the hero, her words catching in her throat as he finds himself in the enemy camp. The guild leader does not lose her composure. Her gaze is full of determination. She is ready for battle. She fearlessly blocks the path of her enemies, but they only mock confident in their impunity. Her patience snaps. She furiously pushes the impudent man away, making it clear that she will not allow herself to be humiliated. A fighting spirit flashes in her eyes. She is ready to fight an entire army single-handedly. The old enemy doesn't miss a chance to hurt him, mocking his connections with the guild. But Lin is not bothered by empty chatter. He gets down to business, demanding a solution to their main conflict. The enemy puts forward his conditions, demanding compensation for the damage caused. His impudence knows no bounds. The young man remains icy calm, his sly smile indicating that he already has a plan. The enemy arrogantly voices his demands, confident that the guy is broken and ready for anything. But behind a mask of submission lies a cold rage, his dark smile foreshadowing imminent reprisal. The enemy sees him as nothing more than a frightened newcomer, unaware of the fatal mistake he is making. He continues to press, mocking his allies and reveling in his imaginary power. Before he can finish speaking, a fatal blow cuts off his speech, and retribution overtakes him in an instant. His minions stand frozen in horror, unable to believe that their invincible leader has fallen at the hands of a lone wolf. With a sword in his hand, the hero appears before them as a messenger of death, his voice chilling the blood. In reality, the agony of defeat tears the enemy out of the game, his cry full of pain and humiliation. A helpless rage takes hold of him. He cannot come to terms with the fact that he was so cruelly defeated. His cries for revenge shake the room. He desires only one thing: to destroy the one who dared to humiliate him. The death of the leader awakens a blind rage in his followers. They thirst for blood and revenge. But loyal allies do not abandon the hero in trouble. They stand united in his defense. Deadly spells rain down on the enemy, turning the battlefield into a hellish cauldron. Amidst the chaos of battle, the young man moves like a shadow, his blade finding its target time after time. He knows no mercy. Every blow he strikes brings death. He is ready to destroy anyone who stands in his way. His battle cry strikes fear into his enemies, for he neither seeks trouble nor fears it. A powerful blow destroys enemy ranks, leaving only death and destruction in its wake. The battlefield is strewn with priceless treasures, a reward for spilled blood and desperate courage. Temptation blinds his allies. They are ready to appropriate someone else's booty, forgetting about honor, but his sudden appearance sobers them up, and he makes it clear, with a joke, that all the loot rightfully belongs only to him. The battle is over, and she reports with relief that the enemy is almost completely defeated. His generous offer to share the spoils takes her by surprise, causing her to express begrudging gratitude. The hero modestly admits that he could not have coped without their help, and suggests a new place. His decision confuses her because, according to the plan, they were supposed to continue their journey through the dangerous gorge. With a mysterious smile, the guy promises to rid them of the curse that this cursed place carries. He explains that the dark aura of the dungeon is deadly. It attracts evil and threatens them with death. His confident answer gives them hope, because he knows a way to quickly get rid of this scourge. He leads them to a magical lake, whose clear waters can wash away any impurity. Forgetting everything in the world, the girls throw themselves into the cool water with cheerful cries, washing away the fatigue and dirt of battle. The guild leader looks at him with disbelief, unable to believe that the mark of a criminal could be removed. So easily, Lin reveals the secret of the lake. Its waters contain an ancient power capable of granting purification. His reaction makes the girls wary, sensing some kind of catch. He sheepishly explains that to be completely cleansed, they will have to part with their clothes. Showing nobility, the guy offers to go first, to dispel their last doubts with a powerful jump. He plunges into the crystal clear waters, causing a storm of emotions in the girls. They freeze in silence, their eyes fixed on him. Unable to look away, the water washes away not only the dirt, but also all the fatigue, filling his body with new strength. He shows the result in his flawless body, free from dark energy, causes them to admire him, embarrassed by his appearance. She timidly asks how long he plans to enjoy solitude. His answer leaves them in shock, because 4 hours of waiting seems like an eternity to them. Reality is knocking insistently on the door. Each of them has their own things to do, and 4 hours of waiting seems like an affordable luxury. The guild leader finds the only right solution, suggesting that they all swim together so as not to waste a minute. Laughter and fun break the awkwardness, and one of the girls, deciding to take the initiative into her own hands, jumps into the water. Her friends, already ready to swim, drag her along, leaving her no chance to retreat. Forgetting all propriety, they all rush into the water together, their cheerful cries echoing across the lake. His privacy is mercilessly violated, and the guy panics and tries to preserve at least the remnants of his dignity. The shock of what is happening is too much, and he loses consciousness, slowly sinking into the water. Alarm overwhelms them, and they rush to his aid, fearing that their innocent joke has turned into a tragedy. Her hand touches his perfect ABS, and a bold desire bursts out, breaking all taboos. His indignant cry is drowned out by general laughter, and he finally loses control of the situation. Her modesty in the water only emphasizes the hidden passion that she so carefully hides. It is the first time he sees her like this, and his heart skips a beat in admiration of her hidden beauty. Suddenly, she is nearby, and their closeness violates all conceivable and inconceivable boundaries. Her hot breath burns his skin. She is ready to reveal to him a secret that she will not trust to anyone else. An ominous warning escapes her lips. In the real world, he is being hunted, and the enemy already knows his name. He tries to hide his fear, but her words confirm his worst fears. Someone powerful is hunting him. Their intimate conversation does not go unnoticed, causing a wave of gossip and speculation among the friends. Trying to hide his embarrassment, the hero thanks her for the warning and reminds everyone of the purpose of their visit. The cheerful splashes break the tense silence, returning them to carefree play and fun. In the game, he is all-powerful, but in reality, he is just an ordinary person, and this thought haunts him. The memory of someone else's mistake surfaces in his mind, reminding him of the deadly price of pride and carelessness. His naivety became a trap. He was betrayed, robbed, and murdered in cold blood to cover up the crime forever. This story is his own reflection, because he already paid with his life for his mistake, and the past does not let him go. There is a cold flame of determination burning in his eyes. He will not have a second chance at life, and he has no right to fail now. He knows he's a target, and even the most insignificant enemies can strike a fatal blow if he lets his guard down. He develops a cunning plan to protect himself, because in this game, not only virtual, but also real life is at stake. His old home becomes his most reliable fortress, impregnable to those who thirst for his blood. Once he is sure of his safety, he goes to the only person who can help him become even stronger. His calculations turn out to be correct. The master has ended her seclusion, and her voice sounds like an invitation to new power. With a joyful cry, the hero accepts the challenge, ready to go through any tests on the way to his goal. In his imagination, she appears tender and seductive, drowning in flower petals. This blatant fantasy takes him by surprise. He had no idea what his gambling luck was capable of. Her languid voice brings him back to reality. She waits for an explanation, but he cannot utter a word. Trying to collect his thoughts, the guy mumbles something unintelligible. His story is too long and confusing. His mind creates a crazy metaphor, trying to put a complex situation into a simple and understandable form. He's so ashamed he could sink into the ground, and his ridiculous explanation only makes the awkwardness worse. But she's only amused by his embarrassment, and she watches with a grin as he makes pathetic attempts to explain himself. Finally, he gets down to business, offering her a lucrative deal that promises wealth and prosperity for the entire set. She doubts his selflessness, suspecting that behind his generosity lies a thirst for profit. Then he goes all in, swearing that all his efforts are only to serve her and make her happy. His devotion disarms her. She accepts his flattery with a smile. Unable to resist his charm, he passionately proves his loyalty, because everything that belongs to him rightfully belongs to her. She agrees, and his heart is filled with jubilation, because with such powerful support, he is not afraid of any enemies. The sudden change in his behavior alarms her. His obedience seems too suspicious to her. He showers her with care and attention, trying to hide his true motives behind the mask of a devoted student. Her sad answer hits him like an icy shower. Her illness ruins all his plans. His protective instinct takes over, and he is ready to tear apart anyone who dared to offend his beautiful Minter. But the reason for her sadness lies not in external enemies, but in an insurmountable barrier that stopped her spiritual growth. Her decision to go into seclusion becomes a fatal blow for him because she is his only hope and protection. Panic grips him. He is left alone with his enemies. Without her support, he is doomed to die.